your scars and I'll show you mine. May always fail, but I've always tried. Sick of the hurt, am I dead or alive? Put me to sleep, this is my suicide.
My suicide.
Show me your scars and I'll show you mine.
Show you
May always fail, but I've always tried.
always
Sick of the hurt, am I dead or alive? Put me to sleep, this is my suicide. Give me a reason to live in this world. Give me a reason to live. Takes all I have to survive in this world. Give me a reason to live. Show me your scars, a reason to live in this world. Always fail, but I've always tried. Sick of the hurt, I had to survive this world. Put me to sleep, this is reason suicide.
Ooh. He's fat! He is. He is indeed fat. Hide. Here's right. Boopity boop boop boop. Boopity boop boop boop. What's up, Doom? What's up, Jimmy Racinos? How you guys doing on this fine evening? This fine Saturday evening. Playing Xenoverse today. Today, they got a new DLC, but it's not the DLC that I care about. Aren't they going to make Xenoverse 3? Absolutely, and I can't wait. But, you know what they just released? They just raised the level cap for the final time. So we gonna get to level 199. I do. I hope Xenoverse 3 is good too, because I really want to throw my life away. I want to throw my life away. So today, I'm doing kind of a special kind of stream, and what I mean by special is that I'm basically allowing you guys to join me in my alone time. The kind of thing that I do when I'm just fucking doing it for my alone time, you know? I'm gonna wait for 3 and actually grind on it. Oh, you about to grind on it. But no, I get it. I definitely get it. So, let's go to... There we go. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. Good times. You know what? Let's do it like this. Okay, Jimmy. Okay. Let's uncrop this shit. I had everything all set. And then when I started streaming, it was like, nope, that thing that you did doesn't actually work when you stream. Oh, okay. Yay. Let's do it that way. Okay. Works. Okay. We'll do it like this. So, what I like to do when I'm doing this stuff is I like to have some videos on in the background while I'm just doing my grinding. This might be a little too big, because I don't want to. That's probably fine. Why are you still on? Hold on. Okay, there we go. Oh, it's only showing the YouTube commenters now. Somebody on Twitch say something. Please. Okay, there you go. Tittle bitties. Okay. Okay, we good. So yeah. Before we get all that was supposed to be titties. I'm just glad that you're allowed to type titties, because I thought for sure that they would auto censor titties. Okay, so I'm level 180. I already did the thing that allows you to increase the level cap. And I got all the Dragon Balls, so I'm going to summon the dragon, get some medals, and then reach level 181. I like doing Dragon Ball farming to level up. Yeah, collecting Dragon Balls and making wishes. Excellent.
State your wish.
I've done this hundreds of times at this point.
I just have a very easy wish.
A very easy wish.
I have granted your wish.
I have granted your wish. I think my plan going forward is to do more Xenoverse content, because I think that would be like, Xenoverse is something that I'm obsessed with, and it's something that's also popular. Like, it's more popular than fighting games, although I still want to do fighting games, but especially, yeah, with Xenoverse 3 coming out. Plus, that made me super hype. So I'd kind of like to, you know, maybe hop on the train a little bit, right? All right. So let's go to 2 suck. Yay! Hop on the train and get off the rails. Yay, yay. Come on, ride it, train. You ride it. All right, so I actually, there's a stat calculator, and I have my stats mapped out to where I'll have at level 199, I'll have exactly 15 bars of ki and stamina and 5 whole bars of health, just so that it's nice and even. When they first introduced level 120, they kind of like fucked my whole shit up because because my perfectly balanced setup was ruined, and it would remain ruined for like however many years it was from then until now, and now I finally get to set my OCD back on track. Yeah, let's get this video going.
Plenty of people dream of becoming content creator. More than half of Gen Z said they'd want to be an influencer when they grow up. And on paper, it looks like the dream. The fame, the money, the attention, a whole audience that revolves only around you. So what happens when someone gets all of it? The engaged fan base, the sponsors and merch companies all lining up, the record-breaking numbers, and then just walks away. Samiko Saba broke a record nobody thought could be broken. 1 million subscribers just 3 days after she debuted. Faster
in a
than
way, this is
anyone
kind of
in
like a
the
combination
history of
React
the
stream
that happened in June
and
2025.
Xenoverse stream.
By the spring of 2026, she'd vanished from content creation entirely, and her fans had no idea why. It all came to a head in April when somebody finally got fed up and canceled their membership, which on its own is the least interesting thing that can happen on the internet. After all, people cancel subscriptions every single day and the world keeps turning. But that post hit a nerve that turned out to run through an entire community and beyond. It had found the exact spot where it hurt and pressed. And by the next morning, it wasn't one annoyed subscriber anymore. Quote tweets stacked on quote tweets. People who'd been stewing for weeks all talked at once, and one post in particular sailed past 1.5 million views, while the replies turned into open warfare. The name Samiko Saba stayed trending for days.
Stream was promised to me 24 hours ago.
That positive. Truthfully, that cancelled membership didn't start anything. The water had been at low boil for months, covered.
I did, and you were there.
With nowhere to go. And all that one
is that thing that you just said
everything that came pouring out
a reference to something? Because I feel like that's a reference.
Insultingly simple. She hadn't gone live since February 7th. No stream, barely a word, dead silence stretching across months. From someone whose debut was, by numbers, one of the most watched arrivals VTubing had ever produced. She had previously walked away from the biggest VTuber agency on the planet, left it on purpose, and the reason everyone thought so at the time was freedom. The freedom to do this her own way, on her own
schedule. Could be. Definitely sounds familiar.
Show up. That was the whole point. And she's now streaming less than she ever did while she was within that company. Go looking for an explanation and you'll find no shortage of them. Some people will tell you that she's a grifter cashing royalty checks from her couch. Others will say that she's just too sick to work. And there's the one where the pressure of her fame was already going to win. Netizens have landed on all of them, and you can see why. But every one of those theories are really missing the point. To understand what's actually happening, you have to go back a lot further than that. Years before any of this,
I love Rima's fucking voice. Like her voice and her accent.
On the internet pretending to be drunk.
Like matched together.
Tears up in my eye,
That At Senzawa, late 2017, give or take, this little voice starts showing up on YouTube. High, sweet, innocent, the kind of voice you'd expect reading a children's book. Except it was attached to some of the most deranged, crude, and gloriously stupid humor you could imagine.
I remember
That
those
contrast
days.
was the whole appeal, and people couldn't look away. She made her name doing what fans lovingly called high-effort shitposting. She takes some piece of throwaway internet garbage and put an absurd amount of real skill into it. We're talking full vocal range on a rap parody of a copy pasta nobody asked for.
Okay, Boomer. Whatever you say, Boomer.
Stuff that had no business sounding as
for
good
my
as it
special
did
day? Well, I had some
sounded
burgers.
good. And layered over all of it was the drunk act. She'd slur her way through chaotic streams and sometimes just come apart on camera as they went.
I haven't even started drinking yet, and I'm already ready to like yell. I hope you guys like this game so far, and if it's on Steam. Oh, I'm looking at the sky. Is this what it feels like to be dead?
And her fans absolutely ate it up. She sold it so well that people genuinely started debating whether it was an act or not. Some were convinced that she really did have a drinking problem. Others figured she just got
God
nervous
damn it.
performing and used it to take the edge off. I wasn't there, and Reddit being Reddit, I couldn't tell you which it was. But here's what I do know. At one point, she
son
edited
of a
her
bitch.
YouTube description to spell out that the drunk thing was a bit, and it barely moved the needle. People wanted more of it regardless. More chaos, more mess, more of the unhinged version they decided was the real her. She built this persona as a joke, and now she was
Stormy, do you
trapped
play
inside it by
Xenoverse?
the exact same people who loved her. So she'd leave. Senzawa never really kept a schedule anyways. She'd drop a video that blew up, disappeared for months, came back, disappeared again. One account on Reddit retells how they believe one of the last messages in her Discord server was something along the lines of, "Every time I visit here, I die a little inside." She was always a feast or famine content creator, even all the way back then.
Thank you so
At least
much
one of
for
them.
hanging out with me today.
I'm
See you
I'm so
guys
pumped
in
for
9
this
months.
for the third one.
And then in 2020, she left.
I've
for
played
good.
this game
Her
like
second to
crack
last
for
post
like
on
the
Twitter
last
was
10
just
years, so
This, a fistful of nonsense. She streamed once more on June 23rd and then went dark. There was no goodbye and no explanation, not even an announcement, just nothing. Her fans had no idea where she went. It took months for them to piece it all together. And what they figured out was that she hadn't quit at all. No, she disappeared right as a new Shark Girl was debuting over at a company called Hololive. A few months after Senzawa
First
went
one
dark,
was on Switch?
Hololive, the biggest VTuber agency
I
in
didn't even know the
world,
first one
announced
came
its
on
first
Switch.
ever English-speaking lineup, and one of them was a shark. Think of a VTuber agency like a record label mixed with Disney. Well, without its controversies. Actually, scratch that. They are riddled with controversies too. But anyways, they do hire entertainers and give them
Not
a
quite the
high-quality
same
animated
craziness as
VTuber
Disney's
avatar,
controversies,
tech
but
gear,
yeah.
and a massive built-in fan base. The creator gets to be a VTuber under a huge brand name, and in exchange, the agency owns the character and takes a cut of the money they make from streams, merch, and concerts they organize. So amidst all of that, Gargura debuted, and Gargura is a tiny apex predator with a
Gargura?
hoodie and a trident and a voice
A trident?
mechanized. She was a
God
great
damn it,
pick
Remo,
for
you're so
anyone.
cute.
After all, she had already proven that she could be popular online and that she understood internet audiences. Her Senzawa channel had been a massive success, so her debut was one of the most anticipated streams the scene had ever seen, and it started with a technical problem and a long delay. So
the
thousands of
safest
people
bet to
just
stay
sat
indie,
there
sure, but
waiting. And when she
I don't know.
finally
It really
came
depends
through,
on your
her very first
circumstances.
word as Gargura was, that became an iconic meme, and a meme pulled in tens of thousands more people that all started spamming A in chat. And from that second, she basically never came back down. She became the most subscribed VTuber in history. Not the most subscribed English one, the most
Like, for
subscribed,
example, right?
Full stop. The timing
If I was able to
almost
join
unfair.
Hololive
This is
right
late
now-
2020 we're talking about. The world is
Like,
locked
even
inside,
Hollow
everyone's
Stars,
online,
obviously,
and
right?
starving for something to watch. And here comes a cute
I
shark
get
girl singing
a
nostalgic
lot
English
of new
songs in a
fans.
space that almost had no big English VTubers.
And
in
then
it
a lot
yet.
of those
It
fans
was the
would
perfect
follow me
combination
if I
of
were to
luck
quit and become indie.
preparation coming together. She wasn't
But, like,
doing it
staying
alone. Some of the
indie
most beloved stuff from that era came
is
out of her
really
friendships
hard
with the
when you're
other
just by
members of the
yourself,
gen.
like
In
me.
particular, with one of
Like,
them, Amelia
I-
Watson.
I've been
Fans
doing
shipped
this
the
for
two
4
as
years.
Same, since Same means shark in Japanese.
I still
And the two
have
of
a
them
very,
leaned
very,
all the way
very,
into it.
very, very
Amelia
small
openly
fan
called
base.
Gura her wife, and their dynamic
and I appreciate them
gremlin
greatly.
Troll energy mixed with Gora's sassy but gullible
But
nature made for legendary
it gets
streams.
really hard
During
to stay
the early
motivated
days of Holo EN server,
when
their
you
duo
stay
streams
small
built a
for
lot
so
of the
many
server's
years.
early lore. They'd play Minecraft on separate streams at the same time and kept colliding into each
getting
other's
into a
world,
certain
crashing
corpo
cards, botching rescues,
could
and Gora
completely
dying roughly
change the
every
entire
4 minutes while
trajectory
Ami tried to save her.
of
Their
your
Way Out
VTuber
playthrough was
career.
arguably their most legendary gaming collab.
Oh, you're good
Watching
enough,
them
viewers.
try to coordinate a prison escape
I just
was
need
pure
more of you.
chaos.
That's
And
the
they
difference.
constantly messed with each other.
Can I get a shot of this from the side one more time? I want to see what's
Like, imagine
Hey, bada, bada,
having
bada.
one Stormy is amazing.
Okay.
Now imagine if I had
No
100
lame
Stormies.
responsibilities. I'll be out here playing darts. Let me know when you're free to have fun.
Listen, I'm here being a dad. You wouldn't understand. My kid just avoided me by climbing out the window.
You guys
Take the shot, kid!
It's not fair.
What? My kid sucks!
And not just online, offline
You
too.
are the one and
Whenever
only
Ame
Stormy.
and Gora managed to meet in real life,
But
it was
imagine-
a massive event for the community. Their
Imagine
offline
if there were a
collabs,
bunch
like
of you.
doing VR together and playing Twister, are
Imagine
some of the
the
most
magical-
viewed and are still some
magical
of the most clipped moments in Holo EN history.
experience
Not to mention their
that would be.
impromptu karaoke duets and specifically their cover/singing of the Fortnite meme song "Chug Jug With You" that went wildly viral and became another defining meme for the duo. As for Gora herself, she accomplished many things that very few content creators would ever have the opportunity to do. Among some of her biggest achievements, she sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at Dodger Stadium during an
Take
actual
me out
Major
to
League
the
game.
bug.
Tokyo made her an official tourism ambassador. She also showed up in a Taco Bell commercial.
2 and only,
Yep,
3 and
a
only,
shark
and so
VTuber
on.
was being
That would be
hired
amazing.
by a baseball stadium, a city government, and a fast food chain. That's the level we're talking about. Gargura wasn't just big for a VTuber. We're talking industry breaking big. And I already made a video on exactly why she blew up the way she did and the challenges she faced along
Yeah,
the way. The
SSJ3
links up there
was
if you want
such
to
a-
go see the deep dive.
such a
The short
huge
version
thing
of it
for
is
me.
that she had the timing, she had the talent, and she had years of being Senzawa hiding underneath
really-
the polish.
I
People
really
figured
hope-
out that part pretty fast. The
I
shark
really
was
hope
the same girl who'd vanished without
that
a goodbye
Xenoverse 3
before. She just never confirmed it because she
like
didn't have
does
to.
right by
And
the
she wasn't really allowed to
transformations.
either. But her voice gave it away. Whatever the name on the model said, Senzawa was still in there. But even back then, Gura wasn't well. At the top, the biggest VTuber in the world still
Like,
took
the
a
transformations
two-month
is the
break from
most
her health
important
in
aspect
December
to me.
2022. Physical demands of her corporate obligations began catching up to her. On December 16, she tweeted, "Going to the doctors today. It's all attached to my health, so it's stressful to deal with. Sorry I've been so quiet about it." And then on December 21, Cover Corp issued an official announcement saying that she was suspending her streams to recover. And Gora followed up by tweeting she decided together that it would be the best for me to take serious time for my health. She never explicitly stated what was actually wrong, but outside of the formal announcement, the trail was there anyway. She'd mentioned her doctor warning her not to get out of bed too fast in the morning because she was prone to fainting.
Don't
and
you
she
have to
had
find all the
stories
Chaos
to back
Emeralds
it
to go
up,
Super
including One
Saiyan?
time she fainted and fell backward into an ACU.
Yeah, I already
and
found
another
I
where
found
she
all the
passed out
Chaos
in the
Emeralds like
bathtub.
3
Speaking
times.
of being able to hop up out of bed really fast in the morning, my doctor told me not to do that anymore. I was so eager to get out of bed. I would hop out of bed.
Really
and
nice dad vibe
I
and
would
voice,
pass
so maybe
out.
bank on
One
that.
time
What's
I
up,
hopped out of bed so
Sampo?
quickly, Then I went to another room and I fainted. I fell backwards into like a ladder and an air conditioning
I'm your
unit. I
favorite
also
dad who
fainted in the
plays
bathtub
DBZ
or in the
and
shower.
really likes
Yeah.
Gooner
In
games.
2023, there was backlash regarding a pre-chat incident due to people fighting in her chat.
This is
over
like
her
the
not streaming
best
for
map
weeks
to
at a
farm
time
Dragon
and
Balls,
going
like,
radio silent. Well,
I found
according to
one
them,
that
Gura ended up disabling
could
her
be
live stream
just as
pre-chat
good,
and pinned a
but
comment.
isn't as
It was
fast,
the first time Gura
but you
directly
get
addressed
2
how her
shots
streaming
at Dragon
frequency
Balls.
dropped and mentioned a new normal. Discussions on forums and Reddit exploded, and even all the way back then, people had already started
What's up,
expressing
Sachiko?
concerns with her communications. This
Shit
is
talk
also
on all
where
the
we
girl
can see
failure
the start
VTubers.
of a fan base
I might
divide,
do
where some
that.
of her most disgruntled fans would later turn into her most obsessive antis, and while others adapted
Yeah,
and
this one's
managed
super
their
quick.
expectations. On September 2024, she posted about going through a rough health spot while thanking fans for anniversary wishes. challenges. And on February 2025, she mentioned having a fever plus other health issues that delayed her Valentine's content, but planned to return the following week. And those bouts of disappearing because of her health only got worse.
Yeah,
over
you get to
time.
beat the shit out of
Early Gura streamed
Frieza.
constantly. Late Gura barely streamed at all. The last few years before she graduated, her schedule went from packed to almost empty. There was long gaps everywhere, hiatus after hiatus, until she was hardly doing the normal streaming and idol stuff at all. The strange part is that it barely dented her. The old VODs and the big corporate projects kept her enormous even while she was rarely live. And all of it traced back to the same place. The stress of being the face of an entire industry mixed with her health struggles, they were crushing her.
I am sure that being the #1 subscribed VTuber comes with a lot of pressure and anxiety. How did you feel about being catapulted into this position? Has this feeling maybe changed over the years? Have you been able to handle it better?
Went to my house, beat my freezer. I would
Right
be
from the
upset.
beginning, or did it maybe take some time in the beginning where you were still like just in this like high, this joyful
No.
high? No? Okay.
From the very start, it was pretty difficult. I had like troubles eating and keeping food down, so I was kind of working off of adrenaline fumes all of the time. I couldn't
Adrenaline
sleep,
fumes.
couldn't eat. It was really hard to balance all of it. I also had a lot of stressful things going on, stressful like company stuff going on. I've been juggling really badly.
So by the time she announced she was leaving Hololive in 2025, a lot of people weren't shocked at all.
I'm really sorry for worrying you or upsetting
Aw.
you with this announcement. This has been a very long time coming, but today I am here to announce that I will be graduating from Hololive on May 1st.
Man, I remember that day.
They had watched her drift away from the
That
spotlight
day
for
was
years.
wild.
To them, it wasn't a bombshell. It felt like something that had been coming for a long time.
Do you wish you weren't in this #1 position?
If Friday gets bought out by a company, you'll forget about all of us.
If
No,
it would have
you never forget your
changed
first.
the stress levels, my path, but also I'm really thankful for the opportunities that were given to me. I wouldn't change what happened for the world, kind of thing. I look back and I look through that incredibly hard time that I went through, finding my footing. I can say that I'm proud of myself.
I'm so happy to hear that because you
Yeah.
really should be. You really should be proud. You've been put in a very difficult position and you made it through as long as you could, and you still ended up taking a very difficult decision to leave.
On May 1st, 2025, Gargura officially graduated. She left Hololive. The most subscribed VTuber in history was walking away from the company that had made her a household name. And everyone wondered why.
I heard the news. I think not everyone heard the news. I don't want to talk about it too much. It makes me sad. But I hope she will be happy.
Your Oshi is graduating. Oh, be happy for the times that you had. Your Oshi will continue to live on. And know that your Oshi is still out there. So don't be a f***ing stranger. You know what I mean?
Guargura decided to leave
Guar.
Hololive. If you pull this up, it has
Guargura.
18 million views.
Gargura graduated! Gargura is one of the biggest fucking VTubers in the world.
The official reason was that she had disagreement with management, differences over where the company was heading,
My reasons being disagreements with management and company direction.
and Hololive had grown into this massive idol machine after they went public. All big concerts and tightly managed PR and merch cycles, and Gura had always been happy as just streaming spontaneously on her own terms. There were clips of her mentioning ideas getting stuck in the company's pipeline for months. One of her songs, Full Color, reportedly sat unreleased for over a year and a half. You can imagine how that would wear.
VTubing works like high
However,
school.
besides the creative
I mean, it does
difference, there
kind of,
was
doesn't
one
it?
part of her graduation that really stood out for many.
So many eyes and expectations. I remember there being many days where the stress was so overwhelming that I couldn't eat or keep food down.
Beyond the stalled bureaucracy, beyond the responsibilities, being the most popular VTuber of the company meant that that role came with expectations, whether she streamed or not. Will Gura be there? Will Gura show up to this project? The expectations and the weight that her fame carried was so
Gura.
overwhelming for her that there were days she couldn't keep food down.
Or, oh my
Yeah, I just hope
Not a big
I just hope
deal.
Saba's okay.
Eh?
I'm gonna go cry.
There was something almost cruel about that, because you can fix a management disagreement by leaving the company, but the
She's the one
eyes
that
and the
leaked she was gonna
expectations were
sue her
never
slide? No.
allowed to give
I think that
back.
was
They'd
Selene.
attach themselves to her.
Well, I know
They
that did
followed
happen
her
to
under
Selene,
any
but I think
name
you're
she'd ever
thinking of
performed
Selene.
under. She wasn't walking away from them. She was taking them with her. Gargura would become a landmark name no matter which personality she streamed under. She wasn't leaving to escape a company, not really. She was leaving to escape being the center of gravity, and you can't quit that by switching jobs. So the most famous VTuber in history walks away. The problem is she couldn't take herself with her. When you sign with a company like Hololive, you don't own your character. They do. It's like an actor playing a role in a franchise. The actor brings a voice and a personality, but a studio owns the character itself, the name, and the face of the design. So when the talent leaves, the character stays with the company. Gargura, the model, the name, all of it, it belonged to Cover Corp, not to the person who voiced her. She left Gura behind. She kept her voice though, her personality, and her fan base if they decided to follow her in her reincarnation. But she also can't use the old Gargura channel to point fans towards anything new, because advertising her independent channel off the company's IP could get her into legal trouble. So how does she came back without being allowed to say it's her? Well, she left some clues. Initially, before she even graduated, she had begun leaving some cryptic clues on her Senzawa account. Gargura officially graduated from Hololive on May 1st, 2025. However, the first hint of her transition actually occurred approximately 6 months prior to her graduation. On November 3rd, 2024, Senzawa updated her Twitter bio to read #1 fan of Gargura and leaving the end of the sentence blank as a cryptic tease. Fans only later realized this meant she'd been planning the transition and rebranding for quite some time. However, 19 days after Gargura's graduation, she revealed the full meaning of her bio when Senzawa updated it again.
It's crazy
to
that they own the
officially
rights to characters, because it's not
#1
like they will
fan
ever
of
use them again.
Gargura
Yeah, but at the
and
same time, like,
Samiko Saba.
they don't
Finally, the
want
fans had a
other
hint,
people
and
to
more
use their
importantly, had a name
characters to get
catch their excitement on.
to, like,
They
make money
flooded
off
the
of
new
them,
handle with
you know?
follows, and the news traveled super fast. Gargura was reincarnating as Samiko Saba. The name was the final confirmation. If you read Japanese, Same means shark, that's Gura, Ko means child, Saba means mackerel, child of a shark reborn as a new fish. Then Saba started posting on her own Twitter account. May 19th was her first tweet, yo-ho, and a fish emoji. It got 10.8 million views on 2 words from an account that had never streamed a second of content. She put up a couple of songs soon after that, and the voice settled whatever doubt there was left with audiences. By the time she set a debut date, over 554,000 people had already subscribed to her channel that had never even gone live. Her fans hadn't seen her in months, some of them in years. And then finally came G-Day.
Yo ho.
Yo ho.
Yo ho. Hi.
I am not a hoe.
I was going to be like this, but here I am. Hello. Hi. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Samiko Saba, and I am here. My name is Saba. It's nice to meet you. I've never met you before. I have a fishtail. I'm a fish. Don't ask any other further questions.
The debut peaked just over
Don't ask any other
200,000
further
views
questions.
9 minutes into her stream. A few days later, she passed 1 million subscribers, faster than anyone had ever seen in VTubing history. And the tweet she posted to mark it all was this: a Jaws joke. 500,000 subscribers before a single stream is already absurd, but she crossed 1 million in under 3 days. For comparison, the previous record for fastest VTuber to 1 million was held by Salome, and that took around 13 days. Saba did it under 3. By the standards anyone tracks these things, her debut was the second biggest
Maya is a modest
ever
woman.
recorded, beaten only by another ex-Hololive talent's return. And later,
Did you
in
see Mink's
2025, when
Mink's
Stream
drawing
Starts
of
ranked the
Maya?
most watched VTubers of the year by peak viewership, Saba landed in the top 10. The only English VTuber ahead of her was Gargura. She was, in effect, competing with her own ghost. So 3 names now. Senzawa, then Gora, then Saba. Same voice, same pattern underneath all of them. A huge arrival,
What's up,
a wave of
Mink?
love, and eventually the disappearing. She'd done it twice. The only question left was how long this one would last. Samiko Saba did not have a regular indie VTuber debut. Not only because she had an already established fan base that followed her, but also because she had an entire machine operating behind her. Weeks before that first Yoho tweet on May 2nd, 2025, a company called Incoming Next LLC filed trademark applications for the Samiko Saba name and logo. They handled performance services, printed goods, toys, digital files, the whole
Did 1/8 Metal
brand
Minx
Samiko
too.
Saba was legally locked down before the
He
public had
he drew
even
Maya
heard about it
exposing
for the
her
first time.
shoulders
And this information is
like
straight
a
from
hussy.
public US trademark records, by the way. The company was registered
Like a
in Delaware.
floozy.
What's interesting about
Like a
companies
harlot.
incorporated in Delaware is that it lets the owner stay anonymous, which is perfect for VTubers. Also, the tax setup is friendly because the legal system there is built to protect them. The lawyer on the filing makes it even clearer. The trademarks were handled
Very
by
lewd.
Michelle Robichaud at Auden Law and Media. And Auden isn't some random firm you find on Google.
She a
They've done
flapper?
legal
Oh,
work
she be
for
doing
major
flapping.
VTuber agencies
Don't you
and
see her
big-name
ears
independent
flapping?
streamers in the past. I've also actually worked with Auden in the past as well, and everything I've heard lines up about them. They're generally good at this. Point being is that Saba walked into independence with the same caliber of legal firepower
Put
as
a
the
red S on her
corporation
now.
she left behind. And her model matched the money. Her Life 2D model was built by top-tier artists and rigged by one of the most respected riggers in the industry. She didn't just have one artist for the L2D and one for the rigging as it usually goes. She had an entire team.
Here are all the people that
Damn.
helped make today possible.
Samiko
God damn.
Saba's character model was designed by Shu, also known as
can't
Shuko,
flap your
and
ears.
illustrated by
Skill
Tsusa
issue.
Kishida. The Life 2D rigging for her model was
Hashtag
handled by
mogged.
the rigorous Celia and
Hashtag
Kunshi.
get
And then
wrecked.
there was the merch. The day she debuted, she dropped a full line with Omocat, a streetwear brand that sits right at the crossroad of anime and fashion. They did a lot of Hololive collabs in the past as well. There was a $200 debut bundle with a hand-signed postcard at the top and a little $6 blind bag pins at the bottom, hoodies, all of the works, and it all sold out almost immediately. Samiko Saba didn't have to claw for attention from fellow creators.
Saba.
Other huge independent VTubers who'd recently left Hololive, Doobie, Nimi Nightmare, were right there hyping her up. There was no marketing budget needed when your friends are some of the biggest name in the scene and they're all vouching for you at once. And it was genuinely so hype. I can't even begin to describe how everyone was so excited for her return. It's like the entire industry was just waiting with bated breath, wondering what she would do next.
Now closer to
So what do you
50 than
even
20?
call this?
I've been closer to
It's
50
branded as
than
an
20
indie.
for a
It
while,
walks
I
and
think.
talks like an indie, but she's got the LLC, the trademark
using
authority,
Mog.
the lead production behind her, and the premium fashion
Get
collab, and a
mogged.
built-in network of A-list peers. It was a sophisticated setup. Indie feels sort of like a stretch here, and corporate isn't right
Get
either.
troll
Something
maxed.
in between that we don't really have a name for it yet, but I have a feeling it's gonna start showing up a lot more often. But whatever you call it, it created a problem that's going to haunt the rest of the story, because everyone who showed up for Saba showed up expecting this level of operation, this level of production.
Why are we
not
multitasking?
be patient with a
I
sole
am
creator
doing-
finding her feet.
I'm basically
After
just
all,
grinding.
The help announcement were a while ago, and we all
So,
know the internet
what
has
I'm
short
doing
memory. They had all settled
is
in the
letting you
backup.
in on,
Barely anyone mentioned them
letting you
anymore.
guys in
Meanwhile,
on
this
my
debut was
special
calibrated
alone
to
time
a polished,
that I normally do
professional,
off
property
stream
industry product.
to relax.
With all the output and consistency that implies, nobody was prepared to be patient. And after all, why would they be? Nothing about this looked like it needed patience. For a while, it was everything everyone hoped it would be. July 2025 was Saba at full power. 12 streams in a single month, plus a couple of videos, which, if you know her history, is a staggering amount of output. She was on, and when she was on, she was magic. She'd rage her way through horror games, screaming at Resident Evil 4 and Alien Isolation, talking trash to the game the whole way through as a coping mechanism for being genuinely terrified. Then she'd turn around and play rhythm game and she was cracked at them. On other nights, she'd boot up some dumb little simulator and yap at chat for hours. And she could sing, not just pop covers, but jazz, bossa nova, and old city pop with a beautiful voice. At least, that's mine and many others' humble opinion.
That means divided by, right? Got your nose! I got your nose! What are you gonna do now? I got your nose!
got you new.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. This is a paper boat on me, by the way.
Paper boat.
Do I need to explain the symbolism behind a paper boat, or do you guys kind of understand it? Paper boat. Maybe it's subjective, like most things are in art. So maybe a paper boat means something different to you.
Paper
but a
boat.
paper boat to me means, I don't know. It's so fragile, but yet it floats. That's gonna be annoying to stop. Paper
She
boat.
has my nose.
Paper boat. Damn, bro. The winds of change ain't blowing.
Hamas Spiker.
Anyway, we gotta figure out who's in
No,
charge.
we're
Stick
not
with
doing
them, you
reaction
feel me,
videos
bro?
today.
That ain't good with FEMA. I'm not reading that out loud. I don't know what that means. I don't trust him anymore. Happy birthday, Hatsune Miku! Her name is Hatsune Miku. If I see one more of you call her the Fortnite girl, I'm gonna freak out. Fucking... Come on!
But the best part was who she was doing it with. She started collabing with 2 other massive independent VTubers.
It was me.
And
She
maybe
was doing
if you'd
it
been
with
around for
me.
years, those 2 were not strangers. Without anyone being legally allowed to say it out loud, Doobie was the woman who used to be Amelia Watson, and Nimi was the one who used to be Sarah's Fauna. Saba's old whole life family scattered to independence, finding each other again on the other side. Which means when Saba and Doobie collabed, it was Ame Same again, the duo that defined an entire era of hololive back together. Except now they had to perform this little strange ritual where they pretended to be meeting for the first time. Think of it like this elaborate manners of an 18th century dinner party where everyone at the table knows that
Probably should make a convoluted video essay someday with like 2 different games playing at the same time to capitalize on the ADHD population.
Runs on a polite, agreed upon fiction. So that's what this was. 2 best friends of half a decade introducing themselves to each other like polite strangers. Both of them perfectly aware that the other one knows and the audience knows, but the rule is that the words can never actually be spoken. You can watch them wing their way through it in real time here.
Here, eat this.
Wait, is it good to eat?
Yeah, it's good. Do you think I would poison you?
I don't know. I don't know. This is our first time meeting. Maybe.
Oh, that's right. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you.
And she looked happy. Watching those collabs, Saba seemed genuinely comfortable, relaxed, laughing, doing this because she wanted to be there. That
It's
was
like
the dream version of
Chillingception because
going
I too have things
No
going on my
corporate
second
structure
monitor.
choking you down.
It's
Keep all your
what I
money
do.
because nobody's taking a cut. There was no idle obligations, no flying back and forth between countries to record, and you still get to enjoy your audience and mess around with your friends at your own pace.
Uh-oh. This is how I died last time. Wait a sec. Wait.
Oh jeez.
Doobie! Tom and Jerry scream. Up, down, up, down.
Oh, who is that?
My kitten. My Discord kitten.
Meow. Hello, princess. Are you ready to play another level of Peak tonight? I've turned my status to Do Not Disturb.
At this point, the public sentiment conclusion was that it
Have
was probably the
Xenoverse and
corporal
Tekken
obligations
playing,
that
so
had
they have
been
2 different
weighing her
fighting games to
down.
choose from?
After all, she'd been streaming now more than ever. It just made sense. But that
I don't
wasn't
consider
all.
Xenoverse
On
a
the
fighting
16th, she
game.
commented on Kurage Ro's
It's
tweet,
definitely-
another ex-Hololive member who was
Like, it is
officially
fighting,
reincarnated a
but
few
it's
days
not.
Later. Off stream, it looked
You know what I
even
mean?
better. The merch
It's
was selling
definitely
so
more of
fast
like
that
an
Omoto had to
action
extend the
MMO.
pre-orders because the original run sold out. In late July, she even made a surprise appearance at Doobie's Virtual Vacation Summer Concert, turning up unannounced to provide backup vocals.
Your NTR senpai.
It looked like she finally had it all, and that she had finally figured out how to do things on her own terms. So you'll forgive everyone for thinking the disappearing act was finally over.
God damn it.
Although she stayed fairly consistent all throughout the end of June and July.
Dude
and
walks
fans
into
were
it anyway.
ecstatic.
Idiot.
On August 1st, she mentioned needing a few days to recharge as she was very busy. Fans were understanding. After all, this happens to every creator. And a few days gap was nothing compared to the month-long gaps they were used to. Saba then resumed streaming
What's
in
up,
August.
Panda?
She literally had a stream the next day of that tweet, actually.
Hey,
And remained fairly
Panda.
consistent throughout the month. But then, September started considerably slowing down. She only managed 5 streams throughout the month. On September 14, she gave another update. She was dealing with health issues over the past week, and she apologized for not updating them sooner. She thanked her fans for their patience and said she'd see them when she feels better. She live streamed 3 times in early October. and then gone quiet. On October 20th, she addressed it, posting,
Licks
"Yo,
your ear.
I know it's been rather quiet over here at the lighthouse.
But not
Just
in a
been chugging
romantic
along.
way,
I wanted to
in
check in
a
with all of you.
weird
I hope you have a
and
good
sloppy
Monday."
way.
And yet, about a week later, on October 20th, she was back on the grind with another Alien Isolation stream, followed by another stream the very
Imagine
next day
having
with a
health
Red Bull
issues.
collab on the
Everybody.
30th with Doobie and Lemu. And then she even streamed again the next day for Halloween, revealing a new scary costume. She was pushing through. She was doing fairly well. Her fan base were blessed by her karaoke stream on November 2nd, and then another Doobie Lemu collab on the 7th, and then a Leaf It alone stream on the 9th, and then total silence.
Yeah,
On
if
November
I ever
19,
get
she
like a
posted,
girl
"Sorry for the late
that
notice, but
enjoys
streams and activity
when
was
guys do
spotty
that
for a long
stuff,
while as I deal with some
like,
health-related issues. But as
I would
soon as
not be
feel
able to
well
do it.
and
Like,
able, I will pop in.
if she's
Thank
like,
you always for your patience."
can
It
you
was
can
clear
you
that she was
can
still
you lick
struggling
my
with
ear
health-related
sexily?
issues.
I'll be
Still,
like, no,
fans stayed
I
patient.
can't.
At first, they told
Best I
themselves
could do
it'd
is.
be a few days, and the gap kept on stretching. A few days became a couple of weeks. The couple of weeks became most of a month, and somewhere in there, the tone of the waiting changed. The patience started curdling into restlessness, especially with the holidays coming up. Because if you come from a corporate VTuber culture, the big holidays are sacred. The Christmas streams, the New York countdowns are company-wide events. That's when your favorite shows up, no matter what. So the fans waited. Surely she'd be back for
Best I
Christmas.
could do is
Some
dog
of
licking
them
peanut
still
butter.
believed.
Exactly.
Christmas came and went, still no words. And then, just a few days after Christmas, she tweeted,
Nibbles on your
Merry
ear
Christmas
like
and
I'm
Happy
Mike
New Year,
Tyson."
gamers. Thank you all for your patience with me throughout the year as I learned to navigate some recurring health issues. I'm still learning. Sometimes I'm good at balancing things and other times I'm terrible at it. And my health and productivity suffers from it. It's so easy to feel down when my body also feels like, well, shit. But in the end, so long as I get back up again, I'll do just that and keep her going as best as I can.
Spits out your
Just my
ear
old
and then
lady
puts it
life
in a
keeper
box
ways.
and
I'm so
gives
lucky
it
to
to
be
you
supported
like
by such
I'm
kind friends and folks.
Edgar
Thank you
Allan
all so
Poe.
much. The majority of her fan base received this message positively.
Or
and wished her
Vincent
the
Van
best,
Gogh.
and
I forget
frankly,
which
they were
one
just
did that.
happy
I
to
think
get
it was
news
Edgar
from
Allan
her. But
Poe.
on the other hand, some others weren't as understanding, particularly on forum boards where some displayed more than a large amount of skepticism, while others just made the jokes that gets made every time a VTuber disappears. There was even this wild theory at one point that she had timed the update for the 20th on purpose because that's when most people's membership renew, so it's the day they decided whether to resubscribe or not. I swear one of these days I'm gonna lose it with what people type online. But regardless, fans hoped Saba would stream for New Year's Eve. Then New Year's Eve came and went and there was no words from Saba. Some did not take her skipping out on New Year's Eve well. However, she did surface again in January. Her first stream was back on the 13th. 4 streams over the month. Not much, sure, but enough to make people think that maybe the worst
was Vincent?
over. On
Alright,
January
I was
26th,
close.
she popped up as a surprise
I was
guest at
half
Vince
right.
Fantome's concert. That was huge. And on February 5th, she announced a new merch line. And the same day, a pop-up event in Tokyo at the Anime Plaza in Shibuya, alongside another VTuber, Kuragi
Last day for
Roa,
summer
who
sale.
older fans will tell you used to be Shion from Hololive. So once again, a Hololive reunion in everything but
Sachiko, how
name.
could you
A whole
gift
event,
another
merch,
streamer
a venue,
something
a collaborator,
in my
and
chat
most
when my
people were
birthday was
genuinely
literally
excited for it.
yesterday?
Except this
How could
particular
you?
event kicked off its own round of criticism. First, the familiar one resurfacing, that Saba only reappears to sell merch. That used to be a criticism of her all the way back when she was Gargura. But some decided to take it further. If she's well enough to tweet and put together a merch line, she's well enough to give people what they actually want, which is streams. And second, the criticism centered on one specific item in particular. A happy What happened was that the basic version, priced around $69, sold out. So the only one left
nice.
was the premium version, a much
Bro is a
pricier
cat.
product, over
I am indeed a cat.
$200. People got upset, assuming she jacked up the price of her merch. That wasn't it. It was simply a different higher-end item. And I doubt she had much say in the pricing at this pop-up anyway, since the numbers are one-to-one with Roa's merch sitting right next to it. As for only
Richard
showing up to
HBK.
announce merch, these things are planned months ahead, and they're usually contractual. Even if Saba was in a rough patch health-wise, she'd still be on the hook. to
Finally
promote
beating
this
Nier
particular
Automata
line
after
because it's
8
a
years?
collaboration with a
Based.
third party. But still, more people were happy than unhappy. And then, finally on February 7th, 2026, she went live. Nobody knew at the time, but that would be the last stream she'd have. The hope rolled forward one more time to Valentine's Day.
Probably in February. I'm gonna be having a new outfit. Yay!
Yay!
Finally, this fish puts some more clothing on.
The fanbase strongly believed she'd be back for it, as that was the one holiday she'd historically never missed. But then Valentine's Day was the real killer, because Valentine's came and Valentine's went, and there was no Saba. And after that, there was nothing at all. And then March, April, and the better part of May trickled by with zero communication from her. Fans started obsessively tracking her streams and comparing them with breaks she took as Gargura in the past to try desperately to find an answer or establish some kind of correlation.
Damn.
Until one Twitter post blew the lid off everything. It all started with a single post of someone deciding to cancel their membership. They tweeted, "I told myself that if she didn't stream or even make a community
Mario
post by the
64
next time
instead.
this renews, I would have to cancel it. But this really is such a hard decision for me. I want to keep supporting her, but Imo, it is a little screwed up to just go AWOL without any notice. There isn't a single other VTuber I know who would take this many frequent hiatus and not even make a post.
It's kinda
I'm not
true,
even
like,
asking for much here, just
I
a vague,
stream
"Sorry
more than
about a lack of
Saba does."
content, personal things happening, but we get nothing. Maybe I'll change my mind in the morning. But for now, I just feel kind of sad. I've been a fan of hers since her first incarnation, and it just sucks to get basically
Like,
nothing. From
just
the
to
content
put it
creator I
in
enjoy.
perspective
Like I
for you
said,
guys,
I'm gonna sleep on it, but for now,
I've
this is where
had-
it stands for me. And I know y'all don't really care.
I've
because my social
returned
media, I'm
from
going
2
to
different
vent my feelings if I want
hiatuses.
to. Saba at this point hadn't streamed in
Since
2
the
entire months.
since the
And
last
that
time
made
Saba
to start
streamed.
an entire discussion that lasted for
My
days.
first hiatus
So
was
there
a
were
break.
people airing
My
out their
second one was
grievances,
because I
such
didn't have
as,
internet.
It's really funny how Saba left, came back to announce overpriced merch, and then left again without another word. This tweet got over 1.5 million views. And just to be clear, the discussion that followed wasn't just her fan base. Saba discussions have always pulled in casual viewers, onlookers, rival fan bases, antis, and even haters posing as fans. And it's exactly these factions fighting each other.
Yeah, I did
that
stream
have
through the pain of my
always
palsy.
exacerbated any discussions around her. And you'll see all of them. in
The
what
cerebral
comes next.
kind.
And
Not
in this
that.
case, the discussion
Definitely not
went
that.
both ways as well. Plenty of people pushed back on the criticism as well. The argument being, if a friend of yours landed a job where they were successful enough to only work a few days a month and still get by, you'd be happy for them. So why aren't you happy for her? Others pointed out that membership
What's up,
doesn't buy you
Goku
access to her. But one tweet in
3225?
particular raised a sharper question. Does Saba owe at least one membership stream as a perk for paying members? As one of the perks listed on her memberships are members-only live streams. And here's the ironic part. Back when she debuted and was streaming constantly, people blamed Hololive, the corporate obligations, the pressure that was wearing her down. But now that she was independent and barely streaming, the same logic flipped completely. Maybe Hololive was actually the thing keeping her going this entire time. And so they started blaming her instead and praising Hololive. Most of the criticism slung at her during the stretch boiled down to one accusation, that she was using her fan base as living wallets. Saba/Gargura was always a piece of shit, and the only reason she left Hololive in the first place is that they dared to demand she
Twink.
actually do her job instead of sitting at home collecting
1/5
royalties.
metal
I
twink.
and others predicted that she would do the exact same thing once becoming an indie, and here we are. Saba/Gura/Senzawa was basically playing the card of I'm too sick, tired, etc. to stream, so please continue to support me, ooh, for the past 6 years.
Ooh.
I get saying, well, she isn't obligated to stream for you, but you are a streamer. humor, it's insulting to fans to just not stream. And another
Ooh,
said,
well.
stop giving her money and see how fast she comes back. She is literally using y'all as a wallet, Lamau. I've never seen a
Lamau.
VTuber this blatant about not giving a fuck about their fans. The only achievement of those who left Hololive like Gora or Aqua is that they kept slacking off unchanged even after going independent. So it's the faction who brainlessly defends them with not streaming is the management's fault has finally disappeared. Imagine having over 1,400,000 followers and just ghosting them. And a lot of it wasn't even just aimed at her anymore. People just reach for the usual internet insults for her fan base as well. They call them cucks, losers, simps,
Cucks.
incels. However, amongst the memes, the anger, and the people arguing back and forth, some people pointed out something more legitimate. They believe that at the very least, she owed her fan base some
I have a niece and
communication.
nephew.
And if she couldn't do it herself,
I love
she should
all
have
the
someone else
words you
post on her
you
behalf.
misspell,
No hate to
Stormy.
Saba, but I'd say she does owe some fans some type of notice. I use the word "owe" because this is a job. When you go on vacation at work, you put your time in and let your boss know. Why does she get a pass? Not parasocial, but why are we setting double standards? And somewhere along the line, throughout this discourse that had been happening ever since she was Gargura, the opinion shifted from Saba cannot stream due to health issues to Saba does not want to stream because she either hates her fan base, VTubing, or because she's simply lazy. And on top of all the not streaming criticism, she'd also been trailed by the same recycled accusations the whole time. Because she has a lolly avatar, a certain corner of the internet has always slapped her with the PDF label or called her PDF. And this isn't new, it's followed her and her fan base since the Gargura days.
Saba expecting her
with
ninth
White
child.
Brittany Venti
Yes,
casting
we
her
are
first
expecting
doll.
our
There's
ninth child.
something called Hollow Live now that they do in English. They have little lollies, prepubescent girls on YouTube. And my first
Prepubescent
impression
girls.
of it was, oh, is this like a child show? Is this a kids show? Like kids can see it, kind of like Dora the Explorer, and like interact with it. Then I come to find out, no, actually the chat is full of 40-year-old men getting off to the depiction of
Getting
a
off, Jesus.
9-year-old.
These people resurface every time she does anything, across all three
Lives
of her
in Sweden?
personalities,
I could
like
see that.
clockwork. The day of her debut, a post blew up on r/livestream fails pointing out that Gargura had redebuted as Samiko Saba to 200k live viewers. And the top comments were, well, exactly what you'd expect. Why do they seem to always look like children? So wholesome she got 200k PDF watching. You can't tell me you wouldn't distance yourself or your children from a friend/family member who watches shit like this. VTubers really opened the PDF Pandora's box. The popularity of these animated children models is honestly frightening. Shame on these women for exploiting it too. Disgusting. PDF is back, can't wait for the drama from the jealous small VTubers. I'm pretty understanding of most things in life, but being over the age of like 15 and watching something like this is just weird. Really, really fucking weird. But her silence didn't just anger people.
Guys,
It
imagine
left a
enjoying
whole
cute
others
girls with
exploited
cute
as well.
voices.
Since Saba doesn't have an official Discord, she never did. In fact, most of the ex-Holo members don't have a fan Discord as well. Well, except for
Like,
Doogie.
it's so
This is
much
probably
more
to put some
normal
healthy degrees
watching
of separation between
fucking
them and
Kai
some of the
Cenat
fans that get too attached. Anyways,
fucking
the absence of a
talk about
centralized
hood
place
shit
that
all
is
day or
moderated
something.
for fans created a gap.
But no, heaven forbid
And
you
this
enjoy
gap
cute
is
girls.
often easy to fill for impersonators. Lately, especially, Hololive has been getting tons of impersonators. And around the holidays, someone ran a fake Secret Santa scam pretending to be her, with a wish list that conveniently included a Nintendo Switch 2 for the scammer. There were real fans that were missing her and who donated actual money to it before anyone figured out that it
A
was
horse is a horse, of course,
and then
of course.
there was a TikTok account called Samo Saber that's been restreaming her old YouTube VODs live, pretending to be her broadcasting in real time. People showed up to the live streams thinking it was her and donated to her through the
Do you think
TikTok
Kai
app,
Senator
which
can
in
swim?
turn had
Black people can't
criticize Saba
swim.
for not doing enough in terms of communication to protect her fans from legitimate scammers. But then, just as everyone has started giving up hope, Almost a month after the viral Twitter post, Saba finally addressed it in a member post. So here VTuber etiquette says you don't leak paid content, so I can't put it directly on stream. I can only talk about it vaguely. But she clarified a few things worth repeating here, mostly because it reads like a direct response to the criticism she's been getting. She first off opens by confirming what a lot of us already suspected, that her health hasn't been good. She says she has a chronic illness.
I met a white person. Well, I mean, technically I can't
the
swim.
Worst she ever has, and that she'll get into it
Like,
more when she can.
I can,
but it gets
I
her
can
really
stay
emotional.
afloat.
She also says she's
Like, I
pausing
can
memberships
survive
on
in the
May
water.
25th. That
But
one lines
you
up pretty
ask me to
directly
fucking,
with the
like,
loudest complaint, that she was
race
still collecting
somebody?
money from
Not gonna
members when
happen.
she stopped streaming. She also promised a longer public tweet in the coming days to lay out the whole situation. And most importantly, she addressed the criticism at the center of it all, the communication or lack of it with her fans about what was going on. And this is the most important part, as her silence is enabling
'cause Ryan is
bad
black.
actors, as we've seen throughout
I'm
the
a black
video,
cat.
to fill the space
I'm a
with
white
their own
man.
narratives instead.
I'm a red
At the end of the
Oni,
day, she
and I
said
am a
plenty
black cat.
times that she's been dealing with a chronic illness,
I'm
on top of the pressure of
multicultural.
fame and having to perform.
Me. All of you are looking at me. What a terrifying thought.
So it really comes down to whether or not you trust her word. Pausing memberships did raise another point worth sitting with. For the genuine fans who just wanted to support her with nothing expected in return, this also took away their ability to do that, and they might be the one impacted.
I'm
the
literally a
hardest
black
by
car.
this. So
Yes,
why
I
does
am
this
a
happen?
a
Why does
black
streamer taking a break hurdle into
1986
people
Honda
calling her
Civic.
lazy, a grifter, telling her to log off forever? Well, it's not random, and it's not just that fans are mean. There's a real psychological phenomenon underneath it. Core of it is that people are lonely. People want to belong to something, and a fandom is one of the few places left that reliably gives them that. Every fandom forms around liking a particular thing, and in this case, the thing is
particular
Saba.
thing.
A shared liking is the price of entry, and once you're in, the actual point isn't really her anymore. It's everything that grows around her. You make friends in that chat, in this community. You recognize the same names every night. You're in on the jokes. You show up to the same place at the same time, and other people show up too. You collaborate on things. You clip her. You draw fan arts of her. And for that window of time, you're part of something. That's what a fandom built around a creator actually is. It's what experts call a ritual economy, where the creator is just the thing that everyone gathers around, and the real value is the gathering.
Well, that
Think of it
outfit
as
is
like
cute. I
Saba
want that
is the
outfit.
glue holding all of these people together.
Did I
Which
grow
is
up in the inner
why
city?
her
No,
going
I grew up in
quiet does
suburbs.
So much more damage than it looks like it should. The fans don't only lose
I've
Saba,
lived in-
they
I've lived
lost
in a
the
suburb
reason
my
the
whole
group
life.
Convenes. When the stream stopped, the chat thins out, the routine dissolves.
I've never lived in a
Friends you
big
only ever
city,
saw
and
in
I've
that
never
one place
lived
drift
in
apart.
a small
The whole little
town.
world that
I've
formed
never lived on
around
the
her starts to
countryside.
come apart.
It's
For a lot
always
of these
been
people,
a
that world
suburb.
had become the main source of belonging. It was part of their identity. It was more load-bearing than anything in their offline life. So her silence doesn't just land as a show going on a break. It lands as a community dissolving, and as the specific person who could have kept it together simply choosing not to. The fans might feel like they're losing part of their identity, losing her. And so, slowly, they start resenting her more and more and feeling like it's her fault. And that also explains why the same hiatus gets different reactions from different viewers. Some of them just shrug and say, well, I'll just pause my membership and restart it whenever she starts streaming again. But some others have total meltdowns. It also tracks with people's attachment
I had a pool, but you gotta remember, I'm fucking.
takes a break as a break. But
I'm
for a
tall,
viewer
man.
Whose whole sense of belonging was wired
There's
into that community
been
experience, they would
very
take the
few
abscess as
pools in my
something
entire
closer
life
to abandonment.
that I
So
was
it's
not
the
able to
same
stand
event,
up in.
But it has completely two different internal responses. And obviously the loudest voices in the discourse are coming disproportionately from the people who had the most writing on it socially. And when it comes specifically to Saba, consistent absences set a low baseline. So you expect little, so there's little to violate. But Saba does the opposite. She comes back, she's great, the community reassembles, everyone reinvests, and then it goes quiet again. and then it repeats. And each return rebuilds the anticipation and redeposits everyone's investment right before the next silence wipes it out. It's not just the absence that does the damage, it's the
Jelly
intensity.
Vaseline?
It's the feast
That sounds
of
like a
famine
VTuber.
mode that she trained her audience to be on.
You feel like you want to do so much, right? And you know people expect certain things from you, but maybe you expect things of yourself. And you feel like you try, but maybe you're not doing enough for yourself, or you feel like you're doing what you can, but still doesn't, like, it's too much.
Disappointed in Ryda.
You just say that you are doing the best that you can.
For being tall?
That's all you can do.
I don't understand.
Just do what you can. I don't want to say do your best, but that's what it boils down to. Do what you can. And if
Do your
anybody has
best.
a problem with what it is, school, work, whatever it is, fuck them. The world these
Fuck 'em.
days, it's so easy to get so stressed out and so wound up. The
When
last thing
she
you need is
says
yourself
fuck,
in your own ear. Making your
God
life
damn.
more miserable. I don't know where this came from.
Makes my
Just
dick
do what
rock
you
hard.
can in life, alright? Don't compare your path to anybody else's. That's why they call it your life and your path done at your pace.
It's too much of an unpredictable on and off schedule, and it's almost the most
Scheduling swim
destabilizing
classes
when
at
it
my
gets
local
cut out.
YMCA.
The obvious question is, if you're this unhappy, why not just leave? Well, because they are already invested. There's a sunk cost fallacy there, but also it's comfortable and it's familiar. Humans are creatures of habits. There's no guarantee a new creator will give you the same thing with the same feeling or the same community. So you stay until the creator gives you truly nothing.
I
It's
can
like
learn with the
watching Lord of the
5-year-olds.
Rings for the 20th time with 100 unwatched films right there. The known quantity usually wins. So here's a contradiction nobody really clocked at the time. For years the consensus was that the company was the problem, the schedule, the obligations, the machine. Go independent, the thinking went, and you'd finally get to do this on your own terms. And a lot of talents did exactly that, and it worked. But on your own terms also includes the term where you're not okay, where you go quiet, where the answer to when's the next stream is sometimes just nothing for a while. Independence was never only the freedom to thrive, it was also the freedom to disappear. You just tended to picture the first part always. So the question the whole Saba situation keeps circling back to isn't really about Saba, is it? It's what we actually want from these performers, the freedom we keep saying we want for them, or the consistency we still expect. Because it's looking more and more like you don't fully get both. Because freedom tends to cut both ways.
Freedom.
So what do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below.
God damn it.
Videos like this are only
Give me a
possible
ball,
because of the wonderful
motherfucker.
people in my community. If you want to be part of that, come join the Discord at discord.gg/Rima. I've had 2 videos removed from this channel recently, and limited demonetization is a
Rima's
constant
cute.
fight. YouTube's automated system is honestly crap, and if you want to support the channel in a way that doesn't depend on the algorithm and the obsessive censoring they are forcing upon us, Patreon is the move. As little as $5 a month, it gets you access to everything, including videos that don't make it past the moderation check here. Link in the description below. And if Patreon isn't your thing, use code CLOP at GamerSubs for 10% off, grab some merch at Uwu Market, or pick up my card at the playable VTuber TCG at Rift Runners, where code RIMA will get you 10% off. Another free way to support the channel is simply to hype the video from your mobile device to push it in the algorithm. Become a member to get into the credits, like, comment.
This one out.
VTubing is ruined. What happened to VTubers? Why is VTubing so negative now? It's a sincere question that you might have asked, especially if you came into the industry back in its early establishment, and it's a question laced with negativity, usually. If you've been around since like 2020, 2019, you might have a fond memory of what it represented. It was a time when it was magical, it was fresh. Everything was glittering with inspiration and creativity. You felt emotions you've never felt before, a space to enjoy and escape from the real world that was breathing down your neck. But now? Well, it just seems like many places are on fire, and it's hard to ignore the screaming in the background, and it's usually the same cycle. First comes venting, then callouts, then vague posting, then politics, high school level drama,
It's always weird seeing a pretty lady and hearing a European twink.
I'm getting tired of it. Me, a fucking slop-eating, slop-making retard. We have VTubers themselves reminiscing about the good times, pondering what happened. Somewhere in 2020 and 2026, a poison was dropped in the well. Something that cascaded the industry into this messy dumpster fire that, despite its many ups and downs, many people still call home. So, what happened?
What happened?
But before we
English.
continue, may I interest you in other videos not meant for the peasants to see? In that case, I'd recommend you join my channel memberships or my Patreon. We have monthly exclusive bangers in there as well as uncensored versions of certain content, all ad-free. And besides, you help me keep creating bangers like these in the long term with your support. So if you have some spare change for a cup of coffee every month or something, consider giving it to me instead. Anyway,
Give it
that's
to
all.
me.
Thank you, and let's go back to the video. Let's make things clear first. Since 2020, where a lot of traditional fans became fans, the scene has always been plagued with a lot of negativity and drama and tribalistic behavior, especially from Hololive fans and Digisanji fans. During those days, stuff happened, like Yozo Ramel harassed in the workspace, Mano Aloe's graduation exploding in Hololive's face,
Oh, that was
Capcom
crazy.
intentionally targeting Hololive for not getting proper permissions for their games, Hololive fans being skeptical of English, the Keryo Coco Taiwan incident, Hololive China being dissolved and the political shenanigans that came from that.
Oh, that was
Mori Calliope's
insane.
Lean incident, Mori Calliope's Connor incident, Mori Calliope being
Calliope's
baited by the
Lean
trolls
incident.
incident, Mori Calliope's Gura incident. There was a lot of Mori Calliope drama. Heck, even outside Hololive, we had the voice replacement incident of Kizuna Ai, the King Yuzaka Mero versus Yuzuki Rua civil war, Project Melody's VTuber model getting copyright struck by the modeler. I could name a lot more, but most of the drama I'm gonna wager you haven't really heard of, especially the smaller ones. Or you might even think that it wasn't that big of
I've
a deal.
heard a
But even despite all
lot
this
of that
negativity,
stuff.
there was a massive upside.
Like, I was around during a
People
lot of that
chose
stuff.
not to focus on the drama too much and the negativity, including myself. Because VTubing was so magical, it incited a lot of very deep and positive emotions. It inspired so much creativity and will that the fact that there were a lot of drama was almost brushed under the rug. In this once small bubble, the positivity overpowered the negativity, even while that negativity was happening during its peak. But as the magic of VTubing slowly disappeared, as the freshness faded and the industry expanded, that positive energy also went away. The honeymoon period being over,
back when False
left
ID existed,
fans
yeah.
roiling in the negativity that remains. But a few people might not see it that way, especially the newcomers. I hear a lot of opinions about why VTubing became the way that it is, whether or not they prefer it. VTubers focused so much on the streamer aspect rather than the character part. I interpreted this as a lot of newcomers focusing too much on the business rather than the fun, becoming overall a well-oiled machine rather than an entertainer. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have tweets like this from Joecat saying that VTubing is becoming better because everyone is slowly shedding the idol culture parts of the medium. So which is it? Is VTubing becoming worse or getting better? Obviously, your answer will ultimately depend on factors like when you became interested in VTubing and entered the industry, and who your
Macas.
favorite creators are, and if you are a creator yourself, what kind of creator you wanna be. And as you can surmise from the title, I am leaning towards the former, especially because I am a traditional VTuber fan, who mostly watches VTubers that
I am indeed a
associate more
fluffy
with
kitty.
JP adjacent culture rather than the English Twitch streamer culture. And from my thinking, I have created a model that encapsulates why VTubing has become the way that it is. I call it the 4Ds: difficulty, disillusionment, division, and drama. I think this is the loop that made VTubing the way that it is, and wherever you might have started falling into the piece here, I've noticed that it always happens in this order. So let me break it down. As VTubing expanded, there became more viewers, more money to harvest, but also more competition. There became less things to try and innovate on. Back then, when there were few VTubers, innovation and even unique character design elements and gimmicks were easier to do because the space was emptier. There were still lots of strats and undiscovered niches, but now, a lot of niches has been filled. Standing out has become a lot more difficult. This bred a bit of desperation, a sense of defensiveness or insecurity for a VTuber's own content, design,
What's
and
up, serial
We saw a small
designation?
glimpse of this behavior from multiple big VTubers. when the
Unless you are a bot.
When VTubing became big, it started
Which
to get
I
more
suspect
difficult
you
to
might be a
create
bot.
content that could retain your viewers while also attracting more. This might not be the case for a lot of the bigger already established creators, but it is the case for most of the creators that wanted to climb the ladder, and believe me, there was a lot. Without the support of something like Hololive, how the hell were you supposed to grow your own brand? This was when a lot of new agencies popped up, led by people with mysterious background and probably almost zero business experience, and they promised you a little bit of what Hololive does, but without the glam and pre-established numbers. Some VTubers joined these agencies, but normally, they are short-lived because a lot of them collapse in the most miserable yet spectacular way. It's a miracle if they just die peacefully and, without drama. Whether these incidents happen because the CEO was a sex pest, or the genmates were schizophrenic that it ruins the company from the inside, or, maybe just the simple but innocent CEO is not that good at business. Lots of things could go wrong behind the scenes, and it could genuinely affect how some of these VTubers see the industry. But let's say you're just an indie that didn't need an agency but needed a bit of help. Perhaps the aid of a third-party company or solo managers was the way to go. But then turns out, you end up being scammed or being sex-pested. Seems to be a common occurrence here for some reason. But when agencies and companies weren't enough,
That is very true.
Interesting things. Without the support of an agency, the strat for a lot of VTubers was to be active on Twitter and engage with fans and nerd stuff before debuting themselves. At first, this was a success, with one of the more notable examples being Artemis of the Blue.
Oh, I remember
But then some of
Artemis.
these people started bitching and whining about the lack of success, instead of actually streaming and putting effort and researching what they want to do.
Thank you for the
These
follow.
permanent debut TBA creators
Neo
would be
the
called
one.
V-tweeters. And I mention them because a lot of the negativity and drama that happens in the industry is on Twitter and is caused by V-tweeters, and tweets in general, regardless if they were V-tweeters or not. But some of them actually started grinding, and some would even implement a few
Just an overthinking
less than
possum in a
ethical
plastic
tactics.
human skin
At
suit.
first, it was
Gotcha.
relatively subtle. Like
By
copying
AI
design
viewers at
elements, sometimes
streamaboo.com.
intentionally to leech off of one of the popular ones, sometimes unintentionally. Not to leech,
What's your theory
but
on
because they found it to be
Xenoverse
a
3,
cool
Neo
design
the
gimmick,
one?
or because they looked up to the VTuber, or sometimes two different minds just come up with the same design or gimmick at the same time. But then it started to escalate. People started aggressively collabing with other VTubers, not to foster friendships but to borrow their platform or organize their own network, having their fingers on a bit of everyone's pie. They would pretend to be fans or supportive, slowly worming their way to that creator's circle, pestering them, not really even considering them as friends, but more so jumping pads just so they can leech off of them a little bit. An entire discussion even appeared on Twitter about this, on whether or not collabing should purely be a business decision or something you should be able to do with just your friends. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it does speak to the intentions of many VTubers and how they appear on stream. Because to a fan, how do we tell who are real friends versus who
Oh,
are
yeah?
just collabing
I could see that
to
being a
social
thing.
climb and rub shoulders with bigger content creators? It got to a point that even big creators started complaining about how used they feel when they became victims of this.
Thank you for the
But
follow,
VTuber
sweet girl
wannabes weren't the only
2587.
parasites. There were also Twitch e-girls. Even e-girls and Twitch streamers were using the VTuber tag on Twitch at one point to capitalize off of the rising trend, which gave way for a lot of these e-girls to try their hand on the medium, without really even understanding, appreciating, or participating in the culture. But if that wasn't enough, they'd repost memes, copy-paste and recycle engagement bait strats. And look, I respect it. I like reading through some of these trends and engagement baits myself. But some of them can get a little too weird for comfort. It could be vague posting about something. It could be a rage bait. It could be sympathy bait. Or even virtue signaling. Sometimes they'd even join trends that are usually a guaranteed attention magnet like art raffles or more notoriously, VTuber versus IRL, who started off innocent enough
VTuber
and stayed
versus
in line with the
IRL.
medium, but then they started to integrate actual flesh posting. And the moment this happened, it became a bit of a slippery slope. Because then a lot of indie VTubers started to not just stop on the VTuber versus IRL trend, but started to integrate their bodies and faces as part of their regular content. And I'm not talking about the occasional hand cam or walking streams, I'm talking about IRL. I say this mostly as observation than judgment, but there's a lot of VTubers whose regular content, whether that be on their streams or on their tweets, aren't really even of their characters anymore, but rather their bodies, and it eventually falls into a pipeline of doing OnlyFans or fanslay content that don't even use their VTuber models' porn like what many authentic lewd VTubers do. And look, I know there's a lot of weird hate against fanslay using VTubers now, and if the VTuber uses
I've
their
received
actual
many an
VTuber
image in my
models or just
inbox, and I
art
assure you,
themselves, I
the
think
science
that's fair
team
game.
comes in
The
all
occasional
shapes and
flesh posting to me
sizes.
is okay, especially cosplay-related ones, even if it's not safe for work, especially if you've been upfront about your content, and especially if that was the natural pipeline for your career, like if you were a porn VA, for example, or a VR chat streamer. But I think if your regular content and your NSFW is just your IRL, especially with your face attached and you market yourself as a VTuber, I would be inclined to think that in large part you're not really a VTuber. Of course, there are exceptions, especially when you're categorized as a live streamer who happens to have a VTuber model like Onigiri and Kayson, but it's hard not to think that way. And the thing is, this trend is not exclusive
Kayson
to
is so
Western
fucking
VTubers,
beautiful.
as much as a lot of the whining traditional fans like to believe. Many indie JP VTubers actually
Corn
exploit this as
VA?
well. If you use the
I'd never be
godforsaken
able to pull
site
that
known as
off.
Twitter, you might have seen a lot of these. A lot of VTubers bouncing their tits and showing their full naked bodies, and it gets them lots of views. Goonbait is and always will be a tried and true method for catching the attention in the internet. But perhaps on a VTuber's last attempt to find viewers, some take on one of the bigger gambles, breaking what used to be a big taboo in VTubing: political commentary. You see, traditionally, VTubing was supposed to be non-political. Like, there was nothing about anime e-girls that was supposed to reflect real-world current happenings. It was supposed to be a place for escapism. You don't fucking preach about BLM and fuck ICE whenever you're live or you're tweeting, but you also don't preach about the fucking loss of Christian values or pearl clutch about sex workers. But as it is when niche nerdy things become mainstream, political people come in, from all walks and backgrounds. It's always been a thing on Twitter, but they were largely ignored up until the big 2023, when Pikami and Silvervale were harassed by Twitter slacktivists because they dared to play the wizard game. But then other communities
Yeah, I would definitely break into laughter way too much.
To counter them. It subtly started with people like Kershaw. Peepa also got roped into it. Bro doesn't want any of this bullshit in the industry and was never really part of the entire culture war. However, the identity politics crowd deemed her to be right-leaning because she hates that this poison was infesting the industry and because Face Connect was, loved by 4chan. On the other side of the aisle, there were also multiple people making their declarations, like Uki Violetta of Nijisanji EN's blatant hate for white people, and Finana's Educate Yourself incident, claiming that the Japanese term trap was transphobic. This happened in 2022, but whatever. A lot of these politically charged incidents slowly but surely gave rise to a new breed of political figures. Now, we have seemingly right-leaning figures like Powder and Leaflet, while on the other we have Nyara and, Anna Valens, question mark? Sorry, I could not think of any left-leaning politically charged VTubers that had like a bigger platform. There's also more on Twitter, by the way. We now have lots of political commentators in VTubing who mostly just tweets about it and occasionally does a little bit of streaming or who doesn't stream at all. I'd explain more of the history about how this happened, but that's worth an entire video. Y'all are gonna have to settle on a super inductive
anal violence.
All of this combined had VTubing develop its own battleground of political ideologies. Now more than ever, talking about politics is a risky yet effective way to grow your numbers, regardless of right or left. If you are a traditional VTuber fan, it's like a landfill was forming right outside your gated village. If you go outside the gate, you can definitely fucking smell it.
So, even though this ain't a react video, like I feel like I have an opinion on this. He's right in a lot of senses about like, you know, it alienates traditional VTuber fans, the politics stuff, which is very true. However, being a male alienates traditional VTuber fans. So like, you know, what the fuck you gonna do? Like, if you wanna be a male who fucking gets traditional VTuber fans, it's kind of not, you really just kind of got to get lucky or go hardcore in the ASMR kind of shit.
It's gotten to a point that even it has attracted the attention of traditional fans who normally wouldn't participate in these kind of discussions. But in lieu of the happening being outside, some feel compelled to say their piece, especially Nijisanji fans, because some members there are more politically driven than others. Though perhaps it was always inevitable that politics was going to invade VTubing. So hey, you know, if you need a quick number or follower boost, say one of the two things. The N-word hard R and preach about Christianity or something, or that white people need to be cold and fuck the patriarchy, or something. But Nusagi, I hear you ask, what if I'm not North American and these politics don't apply to me? Tough luck. Pretend to be a Westoid, I guess, or maybe.
Plus, it doesn't matter.
Koreans and the Chinese
You could still totally talk about
all
American
these
politics.
from copying design elements, copying and participating in rampant engagement, sympathy, and rage bait, the leeching, the trend joining, the drama farming, we'll get into that later, and the political grifting all scream one point. Everyone wants attention. That everyone, and I mean everyone, is
Lumping hard R and
for the
Christianity
limited
is wild.
attention and eyes
I mean,
VTubing ultimately has a cap on the numbers
that's
of
like
viewers.
those
The
are
biggest
things that you
VTuber
can
that
do
we
to
have that is
attract
yet to be surpassed was
right-leaning
Gakura at 4
fans.
million subscribers. That is like less than 10 times.
Like they're
smaller
definitely
than
in the
regular
same category
community. And it's
of
one that hasn't really moved
fan
significantly since 2020.
attraction.
So everyone is a bit desperate. Everyone is struggling to keep their career sustainable and is often willing to do anything to reach the top or maintain their status quo, even if it means betraying, even if it means LARPing, even if it means sacrificing your mental health. And because everyone is having a difficult time, it leads to the next D in our pipeline, disillusionment. For the VTuber side, after the usual agency experience of being abused or sex-pested or even bullied by your own genmates, it might be a little hard to trust people again. But what is even harder is if the people you used
Yeah,
to
I've
work
tried
with,
that,
like your
Doom. It didn't
genmates,
work.
started to actually be
I say
successful
taxation
and
is
climb the
theft like at
ladder.
least
You know some
at
of
least
these
twice a
people.
year.
They are not good people. How the fuck are they being rewarded? Another case, what if the acquaintance or friend that you've trusted so much that you've exposed your heart to ends up betraying you after 1 or 2 disagreements? Hell, another would be if a third-party company that you hired to deal with your shit ended up scamming you. Maybe the fans you've lovingly cultivated decides to abandon you after you're no longer the shiniest girl in the block. Or worse, if you do GFE, turn into an auntie after they just try to dox you and discover that you had a partner, or if you did something that they did not like. What does any of this mean for a girl? Disillusionment. The magic is gone. You see the industry for what it truly is behind the scenes.
Notice how
Different
he's not
cabals, scheming,
mentioning
conniving, and
male
backstabbing their way
VTubers
to
at
the
all.
top.
Like
a bunch of immature,
he's not even
high-school-minded and
considering
emotionally, intellectually stunted people who would dump
male
an expose on your
VTubers
ass for a
like an
mistake that could
option.
have been talked out in private. A bunch of predatory and exploitative individuals trying to siphon as much money and clout as they can from anyone they can snake out of. This medium that used to inspire so much creative spark in you has begun to develop a negative association, a feeling that looms so heavy it makes you want to give up on this industry. And that is a very, very sad thing. And if you are a fan or an audience member, it's a bit simpler. The collapse of multiple agencies you might have been a fan of, the exposés and many mistakes of the creators you've loved, the vague posting, the frequent drama that they get themselves embroiled in or started, the side comments, the questionable decisions, all piled on top of each other. It plants a seed of doubt in
Hispanic
your
samurai.
head, and that seed eventually grows. You just stop liking people. You just stop trusting VTubers, stop trusting VTuber agencies. That once source of boundless joyful energy from your favorite streamer group could get spoiled by one bad Google Document. Suddenly, you question if your Oshis are the people you thought they were. You notice how fake a lot of things seem. It is reminiscent of celebrity culture before the internet was a thing. People loved actors. People really only hated certain celebrities for superficial reasons like, Justin Bieber gay or his music bad. But when the internet became a thing, they started yapping, and the more they opened their mouth, they revealed how dumb, malicious, or profoundly unlikable they are. In but half a generation, their carefully crafted PR and identities got broken down online because they cannot shut the fuck up. Such a thing is happening in VTubers. Even VTubers that used to be uncritiquable now have critics because of the things they do or say, and sometimes it's even because of things they don't do or say. Figures like Bao, Amalie, Ironmouse, Shylily, and even fucking Iago. While they are still beloved in the mainstream, doubts about their character had been planted already, and these doubts are no longer just living in 4chan boards and circles. They're a bit more widespread now, just waiting for their next drama so they can jump like an alligator. And whether you agree or disagree with the criticisms around them, it's clear that the tides are shifting against the medium as a whole. And I think this is just a symptom of the greater point, that people are noticing. And when people notice, they do one of two things: step back or double down. Those that aren't unemployed or do actually touch grass prefer to step back. But because these are VTuber fans that are dedicated and parasocial to their favorites, and because these are VTubers that need their platforms to be alive, most industry members opt to actually double down. Thus, the next D happens: division. Every VTuber wants to grow, no matter fucking what. Everyone wants the industry to improve and expand, but everyone sees how to do it differently. Old school traditional VTubers and fans prefer to keep it as it is when they joined, character-driven, dismissive of drama, a space truly and purely for weebs and losers, light-hearted. Usually, these are your Hololive and small agency fans, and VTubers and VTuber fans who's been around since 2020 or 2021. Anyone that's adjacent to the JP side of the industry, really. But newer fans want to see it change, bereft of idol culture,
Bereft.
no parasocialism, able to show your faces, sanitized. These people came from the Twitch and Western streamer culture. So these two types of fans see certain acts or cultural aspects differently. For a few examples, traditional fans hate the trend hopping and engagement bait and the VTuber versus IRL because it's not something that VTubers of their era
They
would
also
do.
hate men.
It muddies how a VTuber could be counted and what a VTuber even means. Whereas newer fans absolutely enjoy it or don't mind. Newer fans hate a lot of the JP-sourced cultures of VTubing such as lolly, idol culture, and even the character bits, whereas traditional fans are absolutely okay with these and even love parts of it. Traditional fans wants to keep real-world affairs and politics out of their anime girls and values professionalism and orderliness, whereas newer fans tend to value the lawlessness and wants to have current affairs follow them into their brand a lot of the time. This is VTubing's very specific brand of politics, and you might even notice that it has a very interesting reflection onto actual real-world politics. My perspective is that old fans were taken in by VTubing's very niche appeal. VTubing had its set culture, similar to any community. Its target demographic were originally people like me, weebs, nerds, and losers. But when VTubing got popular,
Like
many
me.
opportunistic e-girls as well as predatory businessmen saw a golden opportunity. And when the large influx of these people came, they chose to dismiss many of its cultural aspects and turned it into an aesthetic choice, or a brand new buzzword that they can pitch to investors or something. Some of the new people coming in aren't really even weebs. They're tourists that just saw what looks to be the cool new fresh hip thing, or just wanted to have the feeling of identifying with something. I always mourn the death of a culture that were made by nerds and losers, because when said cultures became mainstream, a lot of what makes it soulful gets removed for something more normal. The current development of VTubing is just one of the mainstream's
Oh
many
good,
things,
I'm a
in my
tourist or
opinion.
something.
But at the same time, it's not like I liked all parts of the traditional culture too. For example, while I don't mind GFE or parasocial relationships and I even think it gets overly demonized, I also think that it's weird some traditional fans hate it when their Oshis talk to the opposite sex like a Holostar or Nijisanji member. That some
Yeah.
people engage too deeply with it or have deluded themselves into thinking that these VTubers, these girls, are actually single. The tribalistic parts of idol culture is something I don't like. I don't like how certain bad situations are often downplayed because they don't like the negative air of drama and they perpetuate this forced air of sanitation. And in relation to that, I don't
mean,
like how hugboxy it feels most
It's
of the
kind of
time.
just
Some of these people actually worship the
the video is
multi-million-dollar
basically
agency
just
and
like a
treat
big
these
think
adult women
piece
like they're toddlers.
about the current
Criticism,
state of
even
VTubing.
constructive, is
It's not
welcome.
even it's
At
it's
the
not
same
really
time,
making
something that I
a
agree with the newer fans
a
is
real
self-expression.
statement, I guess.
Being
It's
able to
more
talk
like a
about problems
review.
in the industry is a good thing. Being able to do more with the concept of piloting a virtual character is cool. To a certain extent.
You better not
For
talk to
example,
girls,
I think
Ryda.
YouTubing is fine, but even saying that is going to give me fierce pushback from traditional fans, and at the same
Shit,
time,
every time I
isn't
talk to
enough
girls,
count me
I
in as
lose half of
welcoming
my
the newer
audience
fans' tribe.
to that
But
girls.
why I am talking about this isn't to broadcast my opinion, it's to explain that my situation is only one of many, and it's a consequence of this big divide. Nuances are thrown out of the window to favor agendas and broader, more extreme narratives. You, as a fan or a VTuber, are categorized based off of vibes, based off of the VTubers that you watch, and you are supposed to help the collective push the agenda even if there are things you disagree with on your own tribe. I remember back in the day, there used to be cross-pollination between cultures. Holo and Twitch VTuber fans, for example, were like curious and generally welcoming citizens that wanted to meet with each other and see the sights of their nations. It used to be a big deal, and an entire event even, when a Hololive member would collab with a VShojo member or a Nijisanji EN member.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do we all remember the Romeo and Juliet memes of Kiara and Pomo? But again, as time passed on, the differences grew too big. Incidents such as the big Nijisanji EN Discord leak, the VShojo Nuxtaku situation, Salengate, the Wizard Game incident, and other politically laced drama created a sense of animosity between each other. And yes, there are still traditional fans that like new VTubers and new VTuber fans that like traditional VTubers, but we rarely see cross-cultural pollination happen anymore. And I think that's a sad thing. Of course, between the traditional and new fans, they have their
Good
own
old wizard
sub-factions,
game.
right? Incidents like the Cinder Docky drew circles in the indie sphere, how that fandom doesn't even know if they should like Filion or not. The Holostars Axin and Sameko
I love
Sama drop
Filion.
also tore a divide in the traditional group.
Filion
Both
love.
are not as unified as you might think. I could draw a map of these groups of people, as well as their factions, but that would require me to go full autist mode and speculate like a motherfucker. Maybe I'll do that in another video or something. As a whole, these frequent clashes, these attempts to gain popularity, the disillusioned people who see the industry for what it is, culminates in the
Filion
last
is on
peak,
hiatus right now
drama.
because she's
Aside from
pregnant with
political
my
grifting,
baby.
engagement baiting, copycatting, virtue signaling, aesthetic stealing, and goonerism, there is also drama farming. Now obviously, I'm part of this problem. I've been making videos about VTubing since late 2021, and I originally didn't start covering drama a lot. I was broadly focused towards commentary and recalling events, but during the big 2024, I pivoted somewhat. And now I stream at least once a week talking about the drama that happens in the industry, and I upload highlights and clips onto my second channel. I have a passion for artistically talking about issues, events, and wider topics about VTubing as a culture and medium. That's what my main channel is for. But me doing drama was a natural step in the pipeline. And the thing is, it's successful. In fact, it is so fucking successful that sometimes even my highlights channel actually beats my main channel in terms of monthly viewership. But the thing is, I'm not the only one that did this, especially in 2024 and 2025. In fact, I would like to think I'm one of the slower ones. Kyo and False ID are gone, and some of the drama-hating parts of the industry celebrated that, but the thing is, they left a massive gap in the market. People that were worse or better were eventually going to replace them, and that gap, that demand, was filled in by creators like Kazahana and Lydia, fucking even Katliente to a certain extent. And that's only on the YouTube side of things. The drama coverage and discussion on the Twitter side is inarguably 100 times worse. On Twitter, it's not just drama and news tubers that talks about news and drama, it's fucking everyone. Everyone has something to say about current event. So in VTubing, whenever something bad happens and if you're on the goddamn site, you're going to know or hear about it one way or another. And the sheer number of people drama peddling makes the negative air around the industry thicker. So much so that 1 week without major drama is actually a godsend. VTuber fans can actually breathe for a bit, and I actually get to watch some streams. Blocking people like me isn't really even enough to stop drama from appearing in your timeline at this point. Again, you will hear about drama one way or another. Your timeline might even get full of it, and it's only a matter of time and topic that you will eventually participate in it as well. The main point of this particular D, the core of it, is that negativity sells. Agenda posting, publicly throwing shade at people you don't like but did nothing to you, creating Google Docies for the most nothing burger issues, ignoring healthy communication with your peers so you can make a big stink about it, virtue signaling, and vague posting about le bad thing are all meta strats employed by VTubers big and small, even the ones that you know. Whether you want to admit it or not, a lot of VTubers start drama or exactly know what they're doing by saying or doing something inflammatory, whether for attention or for their own unspoken agenda. All of this compounds. Because people are having a difficult time gaining attention, there's going to be drama. Because people are disillusioned,
He's missing
there's going
one
to be
D
drama.
on this list.
Because people are divided,
My
there is
D.
going to be drama. When the industry is filled and dominated by high school-minded people, this becomes a toxic and deliberate self-sustaining cycle. I think these are the main reasons why VTubing has become so negative. I'm sure you have something to say that I might have missed, but I think whatever you can think of will roughly fit into one of the 4 Ds. Again, admittingly, I am part of this cycle, but I guarantee you 99% of the creators and fans in this space are all part of the cycle too. Many of the VTubers you like might have also politically grifted or currently is, might have also done bad engagement bait or sympathy or rage
Most
baits
people
up
never
till
leave
now,
high school.
might have virtue signaled and still do, might have grandstanded and still do, might have started or peddled drama and still do. We just need to be a bit honest with ourselves. Everyone has sort of a hand in setting precedents that made the industry a tiny bit worse. Worse in this case is subjective, but the discussion of it still breeds that same air of conflict, of negativity. And I think that's why we can't go back to the way it used to be. We were just so optimistic and captured by the magical nature of VTubing, now we don't have that figurative anesthesia anymore. However, even if that's the case, there is still a way to engage in VTubing that might preserve a little bit of that magic if it's still on your person. And it's to uninstall Twitter. No, seriously, just, yeah, uninstall Twitter. 99% of the drama comes from Twitter, okay? Or heck, a less effective yet sort of valid way is to block people. You don't want to hear about drama? Block it. You don't like certain VTubers? Block them and their fans. Yeah. To a certain extent, the happiest remaining VTuber fans are the ones that are ignorant of the bullshit that is going on in Twitter and usually just stick to their own circles. Clip watchers who only watch the occasional VTuber clips or don't give too much of a fuck to delve deep into threads. Casuals who engage with a little bit of everyone. Stream watchers that focus their energy entirely on the VTuber and their group streams and only engage with the peers and community instead of everything else. Unironically, the one effective way that I've noticed the happier parts of the industry do is just to ignore everything else. No engaging with it, just ignoring it. Try doing that in 2026. Focusing all your energy into having fun instead of anything else was unironically the source of positivity in 2020. The rest of the world was negative, especially with the pandemic, but VTubers allowed an outlet to be able to have fun by ignoring the world for a bit. In a sense, just do the same thing that we've all done before, albeit more deliberate this time. Despite the flawed nature of VTubing and its people, I still call it my home. There's a reason I keep coming back to it even after my 10th graduation / hiatus. It's a fucked up place, but there's life here. It's still beautiful. There are still sights to behold, people to meet, subcultures and communities to explore, and 2D girls to simp for obviously. So despite the absolute state of VTubing, I'm gonna stick around. And, you know, I hope some of the people watching this video still do too.
Aww. That was a nice little message at the end there. Oh, clips that made Doki Bird famous. What? Oh yeah, that's right. Come tribute. Watch Rida and be drama free, right? I've thought about trying to make drama stuff, but I'm just too lazy. Too lazy to make drama stuff. I don't know. I think I'll end up finding another thing that works for me. Like React stuff was working for me, but like YouTube really started cracking down on React content. Like if you're a small React channel now, you don't get shit.
Let's talk about the cheating drama. Okay, so there's this VTuber called Mia May Really, but I think they just deleted their accounts actually as of yesterday. Because look, it's not hyperlinked anymore. Did they untag themselves? Yeah, they deleted their account. Okay, wow. So Mia May Really, actually kind of a big VTuber. I think they had like 40k on Twitter. Okay, so Miwa May Really, it's also like it's a male using a female avatar, you know, a Babiniku. Due to unforeseen circumstance, VExpo decided that they'll no longer be
how vile
appearing
can you
as
be?
guest at VExpo this year.
A male using a female
We're looking forward
avatar.
to seeing him in September
Disgusting.
and for any inconvenience this has caused. So VExpo canceled this. Okay, so first he gets canceled from VExpo. Then this person, this VTuber called Megu Moo, a Void Monster Girl. So she's a girl that was dating Megu, and she comes out with her own document saying, many people have been questioning what's happening, so I decided to write it down and share it for the sake of clarity and hopefully my own peace of mind going forward. There's this, so there's Mia, who's dating Megu, and Mia is 40 years old. She's also 40 years old.
No
They met
shit,
when they were
really?
very young. And this story
There's
is,
still time.
like, the entire thing is a mess. Okay, I have the right one now. So she says, a few words about my situation with
Why did I do
Mia
that?
May Really. since he hasn't been forthcoming with information, I'm gradually seeing more misinformation on the situation. I met Mia when I was 17 years old. I'm now 39. We bought a house and have lived together since 2015. The breakup for me was very out of the blue. We weren't without our troubles. We both had our faults. Neither of us were perfect, and I don't intend to sit there pretending I am. I knew a lack of intimacy on my part and me being unemployed did put a strain on things for Mia, but from my point of view, he would just mention it as an offhand remark once in a blue moon, but he always reassured me that he still loved me. So on the whole, I thought we were okay. I knew Mia was struggling to show or voice his thoughts and feelings over the years. I generally tried to reassure him that it was okay for him to be vulnerable with me. When he first told me he was breaking up with me, he just said that we had grown and changed too much as people. Then at this point, she asked if he's been with somebody else. He says no. She tries to see if she can salvage things because he's in her entire world after all. But on the third talk, it became abundantly clear that he was too far gone. But on the third talk, he started opening more about the situation. And it basically amounted to her being too depressed and too unemployed for too long and also not as well enough. And he had been feeling this way for a couple of years now. He goes more in depth about this part in his response. He never seriously communicated that to me, she says, but he says something entirely different. And it was driving as much as a wedge between us as it evidently was. He just mentioned it occasionally, reassured me it was fine, and we went about our days. So she says that she was unemployed and depressed following 2 consecutive mental breakdowns. She had 2 different jobs. He knew this. I was always very open with him about my struggles.
Hey, thank you for the follow.
I didn't know why I struggled so
ADTR
much with the things I did, but now I'm on the waiting list for ADHD assessment and highly suspecting I have autism, which I plan to pursue professionally after dealing with the ADHD assessment. Anyway, for a long time in the relationship, they would frequently have S.
Hello.
Personally, I wasn't ever super interested
Welcome
in S,
to the stream.
but I did it to make him happy because I knew that's
We're
just
grinding
what couples
some
do.
Xenoverse
Later, she
and-
started having pain and bleeding.
And
during
having some
pee,
videos on in the
which got to a
background.
point where I couldn't force myself to keep it doing anymore, she says, because it was so painful. They went to the doctor with it. Mia was at the appointment with her. He knows she tried seeking help, but it became physically painful for her. So it reached a point where she just stopped forcing herself to do something painful for his benefit, and plus it didn't seem like she didn't really enjoy it. She also eventually realized that she was asexual because she literally had no interest in at all, and later on again when she realized she might be neurodivergent. So again, on the third talk, they started talking a little bit more, and then he reiterated to her that he hadn't cheated on her and there was no other person. But later in the same talk, he asked her, "What would you do if you heard me F someone else?" So she says this threw her out of the loop. Why on earth would he ever say that? So we decided we would still live together for the time being. I considered the split sad but amicable. So she did a life update stream to inform her community, since Mia was often mentioned by her and people wanted to know if they had to avoid any awkward moments or speaking like they were still together. After said stream, she checks her emails because she was so eagerly awaiting a commission delivery, and she receives an email from someone who contacted her because her Twitter DMs were closed. This person informed her that they had seen Mia's tweets about the breakup, but she
Yeah, I don't really know if I care that much. TBH. I just wanted to listen to Rima's voice for a minute. Oh, this one might be good to watch. Most disturbing PS2 games ever made.
If you
This
grew
is
up
stuff I know
anywhere
you guys
near a
would be into.
PlayStation 2, there's a feeling you already know. Somewhere between the hum of the console starting up and those blue towers climbing out of the dark on the boot screen, the sense that this black disc with the purple underside was less a machine than a whole stretch of childhood plugged into the television. You played everything on it. But there are still a few games you cannot forget. The ones that sit in the back of your brain. And they weren't really the ones you put the most hours into, but the ones that frightened you and left a nostalgic feeling that never really leaves you. They could reach you because, for the first time, a face could be built close enough to real that the small wrongness still inside it became the whole point. A smile that holds a half second too long. The machine finally turning everything it could show against you. All 4 games here come from one narrow window, 2004 and 2005. Right
damn, only
before
4
Resident
games?
Evil 4 put a rifle in your hand and a camera over your shoulder and turned the genre toward action for good. We open on the most famous name and close on the one almost nobody has heard of. Welcome to 404. Let's go back down. We start with the most well-known name on the list. Silent Hill 4: The Room was made by Konami's Team Silent, the studio behind the original games, and released in 2004. And it's about a man who wakes up to find himself locked inside his own apartment, cut off from the outside world with no way out and no way to call for help, trapped in the one place that was supposed to be safe. So let me put you in it. You wake up one morning and the front door of your apartment will not open, because it's been chained shut from the inside with heavy padlocks.
Honestly, that would
you
be
never bought
sick.
and have no key for.
I would
And
love
as the
to
morning
just
goes
be
on,
locked
you start to
inside my
understand
house.
how complete it is. Since the
As
windows
long as I
will
can
not
still
open
get
either.
food and stuff.
The phone is dead, the television is dead, and the people you can hear walking past in the hallway just a few feet away are never once going to hear you back. This
Oh
is
no,
room
I can't go to
302
work.
of South Ashfield Heights. You're a man named Henry
The absolute
Townsend,
horror.
and you live alone. The strangest part of these first hours is how ordinary the place is. Just a plain little flat, a room where nothing bad is ever supposed to happen. And that is exactly the trap, because the whole opening is played through Henry's own eyes, looking around his own home, the one place on Earth that is meant to be safe, while something makes sure he can never leave it. It is
Sitting
worth
and
saying
playing
who
video
Henry
games all
even
day.
is, because the game
What
barely
an
tells
absolute
you.
torture.
He's a quiet, calm, slightly shy man who keeps to himself, and the game gives him almost no past to speak of, never names a family or any friends, and offers no real job beyond a faint hint that he might take photographs. He hardly speaks. Even his own neighbors admit they've never really knew him. And he spends most of the game watching things happen rather than making them happen, which turns out to be the perfect fit for a horror story like this, because Henry is basically a stand-in for you, a normal, closed-off person who wakes up one day on the wrong side of a locked door and can only look around and try to understand what's being done to him. Then you find the hole. A big one is opened up in the wall of the bathroom.
Hell yeah.
Wet, slowly breathing, with a steel pipe
Let
lying
me
across
find
it
a
that you
hole.
pull free and carry as your first weapon. And the game even offers you a choice about whether to climb inside, which is almost funny when you think about it, because what else is Henry going to do? Sit in this room until his mind gives out? So you
Finally,
climb
the
in,
hole.
and you come out somewhere else entirely with no warning and no reason given. And the first thing the far side ever shows you is a woman being sick in a subway bathroom and a creature bursting out through the door after her. A thing called a sniffer that is more or less a
sniffer?
dog with a long snake of a tongue. And the fighting here is stiff and clumsy in a way that only makes it worse. Because you are not a soldier. You are a man with a pipe
So,
who does
Mink,
not really know how to swing it.
you like
You
Dragon
cannot really
Ball,
move
right?
from place to place in this game so much as fall between them. You crawl into a hole and come out sitting on a subway escalator with no warning. And the worlds on the far side are lit with that low, wrong, electric feeling real dreams have. A subway that loops back
do?
on itself. A
You
forest,
should,
a
you
stone
should
prison,
at least
an
get.
apartment block that looks
We
just
should
like
all
your
get
own.
Xenoverse
Every
3,
one of them an ordinary
so
place,
that I can
turned
finally
unearthly,
set something
stitched
up
to the next by more holes
to where
that
I can
Henry
do
steps
things
through
with the community.
without ever stopping to ask why. Bizarre
That
things
isn't
keep
just
happening,
me beating
and
them
almost
up
none
like
of them are ever explained,
like when we played
which
Street
is
Fighter
exactly
together
how a
for a
nightmare
while.
feels while you're still trapped inside it. It helps to know that this was never really meant to be a Silent Hill game. After the second one, the team split in two. One group going off to make Silent Hill 3 and tie everything back to the town and the cult, and the other group, led by Suguru Murakoshi, wanted to break the formula and build something that did not look like the rest. a horror game about a
Is it
man locked in his
crossplay? I
apartment,
believe so.
which only got the
I mean,
Silent Hill name stamped on it
Technically,
later.
we don't know yet
That is
because
why
it's
it
not
feels
even
like
out.
such an
but
odd one out even inside its own series, since it barely visits the town and throws out most of the old story
Xenoverse
threads.
2 is
And like the
crossplay.
second game before it, that step
But
away
like,
from the lore is the very thing that frees it to be its own nightmare.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with
What
Xenoverse
ties
3.
the worlds together is a run of people you meet and then lose. Each
Like, I
one
don't even
another
know what
life
the
feeding thing that is happening.
what the multiplayer will
The
be
first
like.
is
I
Cynthia,
assume it's going to
down
be
in the
similar
subway,
to
who treats
2.
Henry like a half-remembered dream and begs him to help her, and who dies in front of you when the world catches up. The first person you fail to save. In the forest, you find a man named Jasper, a curious sort who got too close to all of it, and he burns. Down in the water prison, a giant stone tower with its cells spiraling into the dark, you free a man named Andrew DeSalvo, who used to work at an orphanage and tells you the place was really the center of a religion, and that a boy named Walter was one of its victims, before the water takes him too. In the world built out of an apartment block,
I
a
can get
neighbor named
Xenoverse 3 to
Richard
work on my
Braintree
laptop,
drops
or
out
I
of the sky and
miraculously get a
lands
Steam
beside
machine
you,
and I'll play with
and he
you.
does not last either.
Yeah, I
Every
assume
one of
most
them
of you
is a
guys don't
number
have
in a list,
PS5.
and you spend the game watching that list being filled in one body at a time. The things you meet in the worlds get stranger the deeper you go, and almost all of them feed back into the same story. Down in the water prison, a creature charges you with no warning at all. A fused, two-headed thing the game calls the Twin Victims, built from a pair of twins who were done away with years ago. The very same
The
double
Twin
crime that a
Victims.
newspaper turns up in Silent Hill 2. So even the monsters here are stitched together out of old crimes. In the apartment block world, a humanoid thing with a half-melted face drops in front of you, jokingly nicknamed the Gumhead. A creature that moves like an ape and looks like several animals mashed into one. In a hospital world, a body on a table suddenly twists into a monster the game simply calls the Patient, made to look like a face from Silent Hill 3, and it lets out an almost comical little burp every time you hit it. A small touch that should be funny, and somehow only makes the place feel more wrong. And worst of all are the ghosts
I mean, yeah,
themselves.
it's probably going to be
The
it's probably
victims
going to
come
be as
back,
expensive as a
drifting
full
toward
game,
you
but
slow and lurching with their heads at broken angles, draining your health just by being near. And you cannot put them down. You can only knock them back and pin one to the floor for a few seconds with the Sword of Obedience before it climbs to its feet again. The water prison is also where the game tells you the worst of it. The notes you find down there confirm that this giant stone tower was a prison for children, specifically children from an orphanage called the Wish House, the same cult ground Andrew DeSalvo warned you about, and that as the place fell apart, many of the cells
Xenoverse
were
2
simply
is
sealed for
2
good,
heroes
with
right
whatever
now?
was inside left exactly where it was. This is the round cell that Child Walter keeps writing about in the notes.
I mean,
you
for
find.
me,
The
Xenoverse
little
3
boy
is like a
explaining
day one
in a
buy,
child's
so
hand,
like I
but if
gotta
you can
get it.
just do a good job reading the 21
Because I've
sacraments
played
for the
Xenoverse
descent
2
of the Holy
so
Mother,
much
you'll finally get to meet his
that I
mother,
know for
because
sure
an important lady told him so.
it'll be worth the money
You're
for
reading
me.
the bedtime logic of an abandoned
just one of
child
those
being
things, you
slowly
know?
shaped into the thing he becomes, and it lands somehow sadder than anything the monsters ever do. The man behind all of it is Walter Sullivan. Players of the second game had heard the name once before, a notorious criminal who died by his own hand in his cell. And here he is, the engine of the entire thing, working through something he calls the 21 Sacraments. To understand
21
it, you have to know what was
Sacraments.
done to him, because Walter was abandoned in this building as a baby and raised inside that same orphanage Andrew DeSalvo spoke of, a place run
Is it
by
a
a
game you're
cult
supposed to
that
grind
called
every
itself
day?
the
No.
Order, and worshipped something it named the Holy Mother.
No, I
And
come
somewhere
back
in
to it
all
every
of that,
once in a while.
Walter
Like,
came to believe that Room 302
I haven't
itself,
grinded at all
the only home he ever knew,
since
was
since
his
I
mother.
hit 180 with both
The
my
21
characters.
Sacraments is the cult's right for waking
And
her
I'm
up.
already
A
almost
list of lives that have to
185.
be taken in order. 20 victims and one
Like,
final
you know,
receiver.
it's not like
Each one
those other
numbered with the
MMOs
digits
that
cut
like
into the body.
that
He
the
started
grind
young,
is like
the count reaching
impossible
all the way back into the single
or
numbers.
takes
And
hours
the line has been
just
crawling
for
toward
one
its
level.
end for a very long time. Henry is the receiver of wisdom, the 21st, the one this whole thing has been building toward, which means he was never just an unlucky bystander, he's the last piece of it. And the slow, sick turn of the game is the moment you understand that the room you thought was your prison is really the altar. You piece the real shape of it together slowly, because each of the people you fail to save dies the same way, with a number cut into their body. And at first that just reads as one more grim flourish, until you start to notice the numbers do not match how many people you've actually
The thing I like the most about Xenoverse is that it's a game where you get to make your own character.
Reaching back years before you ever woke up
And
sealed
like,
in that room.
if you're a Saiyan, you get to go
After
Super
Andro
Saiyan
DeSalvo
and
dies
shit.
down
And
in the
like,
water prison, you
it was
find a
just
note
way
that
too
finally
appealing
lays it
to
out.
me for
The
me to
rules of
pass
the
up.
21 sacraments. 21 lives taken in a fixed order for the descent of the Holy Mother. And the whole game rearranges itself in your head, because you understand now that you are not standing at the beginning of anything at all. You're near the end of a countdown that's been running your entire life, and long before it, and the only number still left to fill in is yours. And Walter is never only the grown man working his way through the worlds, because a small boy in the same clothes drifts through the levels too.
Oh yeah, financial
a child version of
troubles.
Walter who looks no older than 10.
I understand
Seems
completely.
Somehow to be trying to stop his older self. The abandoned kid and the grown monster sharing one long nightmare. There's also Joseph, the man who lived in room 302 before Henry, and he's far more than just a previous tenant, because Joseph was a journalist who had spent years digging into the string of crimes tied to Walter Sullivan, writing articles on the Wish House orphanage and the cult that ran it, and now he leaves notes behind in red, hidden through the walls and the worlds. So
How much is the Steam Machine
slowly works the
gonna
whole
be?
thing
Have they
out.
announced a price
There's a
for
clever
it yet?
trick buried in the first minutes too, because that opening nightmare is not even Henry at all. It is Joseph's final moments, the last tenant standing over a framed photo of the new one and asking who this guy even is, one person ahead of you in the same line.
Well,
And the
Mink,
building's
it's probably not
caretaker,
going to come
Frank
out
Sunderland,
for. I think it
the
comes
father
out
of
in
James from Silent Hill
2027.
2,
So
turns out to be the
you've
man
already
who found
got like
Walter abandoned here as a baby,
plenty of time.
handed him off to the hospital, and kept the child's umbilical
Oh my
cord in a
God,
box
a
in his
grand?
room.
What the
A small and
fuck?
awful detail that ties this whole place of locked doors back to mothers and birth and the thing growing at the center of it all. The way it plays leans harder toward old-fashioned survival horror than any Silent Hill before it. Your weapons are simple things, a pipe, a golf club, whatever you can find, and they wear down and break.
That's the price
Henry
game we're
can only
playing
carry
right now.
10 items
Yeah.
at a time, which sounds small.
Yep, thanks,
until you're deep in a
Obama.
world and have to choose what to drop, because the only place to store anything is a chest back in room 302. So the game keeps pulling you home to the one room that matters. It's closer to Resident Evil than to the dreamlike adventure of the older games. And that constant counting of what you can hold only adds to the feeling of a man scraping by with almost nothing. About halfway in, the game hands you the thing it's going to use to ring you out. Her name is Eileen Galvin, your neighbor from room 303, and after she's badly hurt, she becomes your responsibility for the rest of the way. On paper, the back half is an escort, but it's an escort with every screw
We'll
turned
keep the
all
free
the way
market
down,
economic rants
because
on
Eileen's
Twitter.
state is tied to your own
Yeah.
fate. She's slowly taken over as you travel, pulled toward Walter, and her health and how well you shield her decide which ending you get. So you spend hours dragging a wounded, half-controlled woman through a nightmare while the thing hunting her whispers her closer to him, and whether she lives is entirely on you. Then comes the move that makes the whole game stick with people. The apartment turns on you. In the first half, room
The
302
apartment
is your
turns
safe
on
room,
you.
the one spot where you can heal, save your game, breathe, and look out the window at a normal street. And in the second half, it slowly becomes haunted. Things start to show up inside your own home. The walls bleed and breathe, and the ghosts of Walter's victim push their way through the plaster, lurching toward you with their heads snapping at wrong angles and draining your health just by being close. And here's the part that breaks people. You cannot take them down for good, because they're already dead. The best you can manage is to pin one to the floor for a little while with a special blade called the Sword of Obedience, which is a held breath rather than a real win. So the one place that was supposed to be your shelter turns into the worst room in the game. And the series usually leaves the idea of home alone and scared, where this game takes it apart and then makes you keep walking back into it. It gets crueler in a slow, structural way, because you do not see these worlds just once. You walk every one of them a second time, now towing Eileen, with everything warped and meaner than before. And every time you come back to room 302, the haunting is spread a little further. Ghostly stains fixed to the walls that drain you just by being near, shapes of the dead pushing up through the plaster. You can clean them
Look at
away
how
with
cool
holy
my
candles
girl
and a
is.
saint's medallion, but the room now has a kind of health of its own. A rot that climbs the longer you play, until the shelter is a place you have to steel yourself just to step into. Even the peephole you used early on to watch the hallway stops feeling like idle curiosity and starts feeling like the game reminding you that the walls here are never solid, and that the whole time you were watching, something was watching back. The end of it is a single image you do not forget. You descend one last level and find Walter floating in the air with a red glow around him, curled up in a fetal position like a baby in the womb, ringed by stone slabs that stand in for every victim of his long rebirth. And there in a round arena,
They're being
you
stingy
face the
with the
ghost of
Dragon
Walter
Balls.
alongside a giant pale beast, that same worm thing that has been drifting through the whole game, which turns out to be Walter's actual body, called the Conjurer. The fight is the entire game folded into one room.
What's
While
up,
you
Micah?
pull spears out of the walls and drive them into the beast, Eileen is walking, slow and dreaming, toward a machine that will end her.
Micah, you ever play
How well
Xenoverse?
you looked after her the whole way through decides how fast she drifts toward it. So the last thing Silent Hill 4 ever asks of you is to finish a man who was turned into a monster as a child, fast enough to save the one person you were handed to protect, in the heart of the very room that started all of it. How it ends is on you
Used to
too.
play it a lot.
Silent Hill 4 has 4
I come
endings,
back to this
and
game
which one you land on comes down to
all
how
the fucking
far you
time.
let the room rot and what state
I've
Eileen
considered
is in
making
when you
Xenoverse
finally reach
content
Walter.
once
There's
Xenoverse
the
3 comes
escape
out.
ending, where
Because
Eileen lives and
it's a
Henry
game
walks
I'm
out
like,
the far side of all this.
I
and the
might
two
be
of them
more
talk in a
hyped for
hospital like
Xenoverse
people
3
who
than I
just
was for
survived
Tekken 8.
something they'll never be able to explain.
And keep in
there's the
mind,
mother
Tekken 8
ending,
was the game,
and
was the
Eileen's
reason
death,
I bought a PS5
and the one
for,
tied to
so.
the ritual itself, each one darker than the last, reached by letting her slip or letting the haunting fester, all the way down to the room being haunted all over again the moment you thought it was finally over. The escort you spent hours resenting turns out to be the whole game. When it came out in June of 2004, Silent Hill 4 split the fans straight down the middle.
I
And it's
actually
still the
disagree.
most
I think
argued over
Tekken 8
game in
is
the
very
series,
lustrous.
with some people telling you
But,
flat out that it's not a Silent Hill game
its
at all.
balancing is just fucked
It
right
has
now.
real problems. The back half
Like, there
leaning
are-
hard
there
on
are a
that
lot of
escort
things about
and
it that
walking
are
you back
really,
through the
really
same
good.
areas with stretches
Like, I
that are
think the
simply a
game
chore to
feels
play.
great.
But I think the people who write it
The
off
game
are
feels
missing how
great,
much
the
of it
game
works
looks
and how much of it sticks.
fucking amazing.
Because the setup on its own, you wake up sealed inside
it has
your own
a
apartment with a
whole
hole in the
story
bathroom wall
mode,
for an exit, is one of the
which was the
cleanest horror
reason
hooks of
why
the whole
fucking
generation.
the
Like a lot
NetherRealm
of the
Mortal
best games of
Kombat
this
games
era,
were so
it shipped to
beloved
mixed
by the
reviews
casual
and got a
audience.
second look
Like,
years
it's
later.
definitely
When people
100%
came back
a
and
good
admitted that
game.
The thing they'd been frustrated by was also
like,
the thing
even
they could
from
not
the day
stop
it was
thinking about.
released,
It's the last
if
game
you're
the
not
original
looking
Silent
at
Hill
it through the
team
eyes
ever
of a
made.
competitor,
The final
right?
chapter of the only run that ever really mattered.
But as
And
a
it closed that
competitor,
run, not in the famous town, but in the
when
most
the game was
ordinary
first
room in the
released,
series,
it was
turned
dog
into the worst
shit.
place in the building.
But Tekken 8 competitively is getting a lot better. But as a game, it's
Our
it's
second game is a
ridiculously
complete
it's like
change of
super
pace.
amazing.
Obscure was made by the French studio Hydravision and published by Dreamcatcher in 2004. And it's about a group of high
Right.
school
Both
students
of
who
us are
stay
somewhat
behind after
competitors.
dark
That's,
to
you
look
know,
into a string of disappearances at their
that's
school.
what I'm that's
only to
that's
find the
why
place
we
crawling
think
with
about it like
monsters.
that.
After something as airless and bleak as Silent Hill 4, this is where we put the lights back on and reach for the pulpiest thing in the whole episode. An idea so simple and so good that I cannot believe almost
Like
nobody else
like I'm
ever
saying,
stole
like
it.
I say, the only
Take
people
the teen
that hate
slasher
Tekken
movie,
8 are
you turn
Tekken
it into a
fans.
survival horror game you can play with a friend, and then you let that friend get you taken out. It has the most perfect name in the genre,
But it's
too.
definitely getting
a horror
there.
game literally called Obscure, like it was built to be a video thumbnail 15
So I
years
hated
earlier.
DOA 6. Yeah.
Almost all of it happened on
There's
the
a
grounds
lot of
Leafmore
reasons
High
to hate
School,
DOA 6.
which is a setting horror barely ever uses, even though school is heaven for some people and a
And
daily
it didn't even
nightmare
get
for
the
others.
casual
And
fans.
it leans all the way into that teen drama meets monster
that's
movie
where it fucked
energy
up big time.
without a hint of shame. The whole thing plays like a late-night teen drama that wandered into a monster movie, all crushes and clicks and lockers, right up until the lights go out. The setup is pure 2000s teen horror, a darkness
And it looks
spreading
like
through the
Team
school,
Ninja are fucking up
students going missing, the disappearance of
DOA
one
6
kid's
last
brother,
round, too,
dragging
so-
a group of friends into creeping around their own school after dark. And the real hook is the co-op, because Obscure was built as a drop-in 2-player game, which means you can play the whole thing with a friend on the couch, and you can absolutely get that friend taken out. Friendly fire is on, and the characters can die for good. So if you lose one in the dark, they're gone for the rest of the game.
You got
which
shadow
turns
banned
every
on
encounter
Twitch.
into a tense negotiation
What happened,
with the
Stormy?
person sitting beside
What'd you do?
It's a survival horror game that doubles as a friendship
You should
test
play Core
in
Fighters.
the most
I did
stressful way
download
you
Core
can imagine.
Fighters.
The 5 kids are not just different skins either, because each one brings something into the dark. Josh, who can tell whether a room still holds anything worth grabbing. Stan, who picks locks
Well,
fast.
that's okay,
Kenny,
Stormy,
who can sprint
because
flat out,
I've got
and
two
Shannon,
different
the brains who read the
two different
puzzles and
fucking
points you on. You
platforms.
always move as a pair, which is where it gets almost funny. Because if you play alone, the second character is run by a computer so hopeless at staying alive.
I've been
that you
winning with
spend half
Nico.
the game
I-
swapping between the two of
I
them
tried
just
Nico,
to stop your partner walking face
and I don't know,
first
it just
into a
didn't feel
monster.
right to me.
The threat is light.
You're on
in
Kick
every
now?
sense,
No, I'm on YouTube.
Because the monsters flinch from it, and you spend the game taping flashlights to your weapons, holding a beam on each one to burn off the dark glow that makes it untouchable before your
I think
bat
you
does
might have
anything at all.
gotten
The source
shadow
of it all
banned
is the
because of the
principal, Herbert Friedman,
because of that
who's been
post that you
experimenting on a
made
strange black fruit
mimicking a
plant
bot.
tied to holding off death in a long, grief-twisted attempt to save his twin brother Leonard, the first person the plant ever twisted into a monster.
Oh,
And those same
Stormy.
experiments are what's turning the students into monsters. He and Leonard founded the school more than 100 years ago, and the plant has kept Herbert alive and unchanged the whole time. So the man behind the desk is pushing a century old, while the
That's
kind
the-
old
that's the
school
only-
nurse
that's the only
who's been in on
thing
it
I
from
can
the very
think of,
start
really.
is just as ancient, looking after students she has outlived by lifetimes. Under the goofy surface, there's a real body horror in it, because the kids do not simply die. They melt and twist into the very things now hunting their friends. It's Scooby-Doo with a body count, which sounds like an insult and is not meant as one, because that balance is really hard to pull off, and Obscure mostly lands it. The thing I would point anyone toward, even if they never touch the game, is the music, because Olivier Derivière scored it with a real children's
Invoking the
choir
name of
singing in
Twitch
Latin.
royalty.
Sweet little voices laid over a high school full of changing teenagers.
Is
a far
Ion a
smarter
top tier
choice
in
than
that?
the game around it ever needed, and the reason it's stuck in people's heads for 2 whole decades. There is a sequel too, Obscure 2, sold as the Aftermath in some regions, that moves the survivors into college and turns the plant's flowers into a party drug. Kids getting high on the very thing that turned their friends into monsters. And it pushes harder into body horror than the first one ever did. Messier and less even than the original, but clearly aware of what made it work. I'm closing on Obscure on purpose, because it's the lightest thing here, the one that lets the episode breathe, but it belongs in this exact window for the same reason as the rest. A 2004 survival horror game built on helplessness and a spreading dark, and bodies that will not stay human. Made right before the genre forgot how to do any of that, and it pulled off one trick none of the others
Dragon
did, because it
Balls.
handed the controller to a second person and tied your survival to theirs. And there's a real horror buried in that, since the most dangerous thing in Leafmore High
What's
is not
funny?
the principal at all, it's your best friend with a flashlight, panicking in the dark.
You've been really wanting to play DOA again? That's a damn shame,
This
Micah.
is the heavy one. The game that stayed with
Just
me
not
the longest.
6.
Haunting Ground was developed and published by Capcom in 2005, and it's about a young woman who wakes up imprisoned in a strange castle, hunted through its
I've
halls
known
by
all
people
of
she
these
has
games
no way
so
to
far.
fight, with only a stray dog at her side, and it did almost everything right and lost anyway, mostly because of the calendar. It's a stitched-together thing built from 2 dead projects, the running and hiding game from a shelved clock tower, and a thrown-out Resident Evil 4 draft about Leon finding a young girl in a castle whose only friend was a dog, sewn into one and put out in Japan as Demento, and in the West as Haunting Ground. It came out in the spring of 2005, a few months behind Resident Evil 4, and on one shelf sat the game that changed everything, where you kick villagers and feel like a god.
Parsec,
And on
yeah,
the
I know
other
what that
sat
is.
this, a slow, frightened game about a college student whose only protection is a white dog, and almost nobody reached for the second one. It vanished. Its print run small, and for years a
should
sealed
Parsec
copy was rare
games.
enough to make collectors wince at the price.
I
It
need
did not fail
emulators for
because it
that,
was
right?
bad. It failed because it walked into a party a few months late, and the party had already changed. We open in a cage. A young woman wakes up inside a
I wouldn't
cell
call
in a
these obscure,
stone-cold dungeon.
but
And a few feet away, a huge man is calmly working through a slab of meat with a cleaver. And when he reaches for her, a lightning storm scares him off and wakes Fiona Belly properly. Her parents died in
yeah,
a
but
car
you have
crash.
some.
She
Well,
was brought here
my
while she was
PC
out
can't
cold.
really
The
handle
lock on her
any
cage is somehow open,
any DOA
and when she
game,
steps out, something
with the
bolts from
exception
under
of
the
maybe
table.
DOA
But
1.
It's not a threat. It is a dog who drops a collar with the name Huey on it. And then she does the only thing this game ever really asks of her.
That Claire is
She
so
runs.
obscure.
I need you to feel how exposed you are, because that exposure is the entire game. Fiona cannot fight. She has a weak kick and a clumsy
Stormy,
shove that do almost nothing.
you're back on
No
Twitch.
shotgun is coming, and when a stalker finds you, your only choices are to run, to hide under a bed or in a wardrobe, or behind a shower curtain, or to crouch and pray they walk past. Running costs you, because if you sprint too long, she doubles over gasping at the worst possible moment. And then comes the part that lifts this above a simple clock tower copy. The way the game
reset your
refuses to
phone.
keep your fear in the corner of the screen and puts it right in the picture instead.
Little
Because as a
Nightmares?
stalker
Is that
closes
even a
in, the
two-player
color
game?
drains out. The heartbeat climbs into the
I thought
rumble
that
of the
was single
controller,
player.
and when it peaks, she breaks. She will not stop running. She trips over her own feet. She runs into walls. Capcom put you inside her body and made you steer a person who's coming apart before the thing behind her catches up. There are no loading screens either. The game building its chase music on the fly so it speeds up and slows by how close your
Reanimal.
hunter is until you learn to read your own safety through sound. The music dropping to nothing but footsteps when a stalker is in the room and has not spotted you yet. Nothing clutters the screen either. No health bar or map sitting in the corner, since everything you carry lives inside Fiona's own bag, so the only thing standing between you and the castle is her. And then there's the dog, one of the best animal companions
Huey.
any game has ever managed, because Huey feels like an animal with his own opinion of you. He does not simply obey at first, since he does not know you, but you build a bond by praising and feeding him, and he grows from a jumpy stray into something that will throw itself
I mean,
at a
you know, we
grown
could
man
always
to buy you
you
3
could always
seconds.
like come over and
The
we
other
could play
side is darker,
offline.
because mistreat him and he sours on you, and that changes the ending. He is, by the way, the exact same dog model from Resident Evil 4, the 2 games built side by side, so the most loyal thing in this castle wandered in from the better-selling game next door. The castle is not one place, but a long way down, starting almost normal, gray stone and old portraits, and the deeper you go, the more the rooms stop making sense, the castle giving way to a crumbling mansion, then a lab full of half-finished artificial people
I got a
muttering to
new
themselves,
work schedule now.
then the House of Truth, old
Like,
and
I
wrong,
close
like
now?
somewhere you were never meant to stand. There's a
And I
crafting layer
work
running under it.
Friday,
Machines where you
Saturday,
feed in
Sunday,
little
and
medallions
Monday
to make items,
from
including a
2
necklace
till
that turns
close.
Fiona invisible as long as she holds still, but you can mostly skip it. And what really matters is the people hunting her. The game is a run of acts, each handing you a new stalker, and each one is the different flavor of the same poison. The idea of a woman seen
Yeah,
as
because
an object,
a
thing to be used.
it's not rough.
Never
It's,
once a
it's
person.
literally the same.
The first is Debilitas.
It's the same as it was,
huge and
just
misshapen with the mind of a
different
child,
time.
who chases Fiona because he thinks she's
Why'd
a
I
doll,
agree to that?
a new
I
toy.
moved, so I
He even throws
transferred.
a doll at her
Also,
before
I
he
kind of
appears.
wanted to do
He's not evil.
late nights
He
again
simply
because
does not understand she's alive.
it had been
which does
10
not stop him
years
from
since I
squeezing the
did
life out of her
closing,
through sheer clumsy
and I'm
affection.
kind of got tired of going to bed
An
at 8
artificial person
p.m.
grown in the
before the
castle's
sun
lab
goes
through
down,
alchemy.
you know?
And early on, the game lets you either subdue him or finish him off.
Yeah,
And if you
I
spare
moved
him, something almost
to a
tender
new
happens,
place,
because he
and I
stops seeing her
transferred
as
to a
doll,
different
bows
location.
to her and leaves her be.
Still in the
He's
general
only
area?
one of her
No.
tormentors who ever learns anything.
I'm in a
The
different
second
city
is
now.
Daniela, the maid, and and she's the reason the game has a following. She moves flat and dead-eyed through her chores, and when she snaps, she comes at you in
I don't
complete
know if
silence
I'm
with a shard
closer
of
or
glass,
farther away than
sometimes
to you,
cracking
though.
into mad laughter before sliding back to work. The game's cinematics were directed by the actor Naoto Takenaka, who pushed for big, dramatic, almost theatrical movement from all the stalkers. And Daniela's stiff, gliding walk that snaps without warning into hysteria is the eeriest thing to come out of it. She was made too, built to be perfect, and she feels nothing at all. No pain and no pleasure, and she cannot even taste the food she cooks. And she cannot have children, which in this castle makes her worthless, because the only value the place puts on its women
I don't know.
lives in the womb. Her jealousy of Fiona curls into something awful, and you catch it in a bowl of soup with blonde hair in it. With the suggestion she's
I'll give you my
feeding
address.
Fiona the remains of her
Actually,
own
I
mother.
can give you my address
Her
right now
weakness is
on
mirrors because she
on,
cannot stand the sight
on
of herself,
Discord.
and she dies smiling since after a life of feeling nothing, pain was at least something.
Obviously.
The third is Ricardo,
Don't leak it.
the keeper, fast and relentless and carrying a gun, which in a game where one hit ends you is a special kind of terror. He's a clone of Fiona's own father, which makes him her uncle, and his plan is the foulest in the castle, to get her pregnant so she gives birth to a child carrying the same life force he does, a copy of himself, which means he's trying to use his niece to give birth to himself. He turns invisible to torment her, telling her she owns nothing, not even her own body. And if you have
Alright, I sent it to
mistreated
you.
Huey and the dog is
I'll
not
leak
there
it to your
save
future
her,
wife.
Ricardo wins, and the game shows you what that means.
Yeah, the new place is cool.
The last is Lorenzo, who spent the whole game leaving notes promising to help you escape, and was only luring you in to harvest you. He's the
but
castle's original master.
it's cool.
But many
I like
clones
it.
deep, the same life force passed from body to body across centuries, so one man could simply keep living.
I'm driving to work
And
on a
across your
moped
meetings,
now.
He grows younger and stronger, because that force lets him run his own aging backward. It all comes from real old alchemy. The thing everyone chases, basically the Philosopher's Stone. The spark said to give everything its life. And the game ties it to having children, putting Fiona's spark in her womb, which is the choice that turns a story about old magic into one about women's bodies being treated as property. All of it pays off up a water tower, where Ricardo turns invisible, and the only thing keeping you alive is Huey, who growls at empty air a half second before a hand closes on your throat. It's the moment the game
I live
stops
by your
being
old
about
job?
hiding, and
Interesting.
becomes about trust, because every treat you fed him is the difference between making it up that tower and dying to something you cannot even see. The bond was never a side thing, it is the way you survive, because that is what the game is really about. Fiona is never treated as a person with the right to decide her own future, and near the end, Lorenzo even drops her name and calls her his life force instead. Just a useful thing, and the camera is in on it.
It's not that far?
Slipping
Well,
into
that's good.
shots seen through the stalker's own eyes, so you watch her the way the people hunting her do. Reviewers in 2005 called it cheap and exploitative, a nasty story told at her expense. And the strange thing is, they were describing exactly what it was going for and mistaking it for failure, because the discomfort is the horror doing its job, and the way she's treated as a thing is the monster, simply too far ahead of a crowd that would not take a woman as the lead seriously in the first place. It rewards a second run too, in ways that deepen the unease rather than pad it out, a harder mode that changes how the stalkers look and seeds more creatures into the early hours, a journal that switches from Fiona's point of view to Huey's the second time through, even an unlockable mood where you guide the dog himself, because his behavior was clever enough to carry its own little game. The producer later admitted that they added Huey partly out of fear that a woman alone, with no way to fight back, simply would not sell, which is its own sly comment on the exact thing the game is about. There are 4 endings.
Okay,
named in
so that's
Latin that
bullshit
work
for
like a
one,
moral
because
text.
fucking
The good one sends Fiona out
Resident
with
Evil
Huey while
3,
Debilitus bows
I
and goes back
guarantee
to the
you
garden,
sold better
the
than this
last
game
soul
ended up
alive in the
doing,
place.
so
But the one that tells you what the game truly is the one you earn through cruelty. Because if you treat Huey badly enough, he does not come when Ricardo catches her, and Fiona wakes in a glass box, and it cuts to months later, her heavily pregnant, Ricardo stroking her hair, while she laughs and laughs because her mind is gone. The ending is called Tu fui ego eris. What you are I was, and what I am, you will be. It is the circle closing with your own hands
You
on the
want
controller.
stars? I'll give you
Capcom has mostly
stars.
let the game rot. A Japan-only re-release and a cameo costume in Street Fighter is the most it ever got.
Then she
But it
fucking
refuses to disappear,
starts bouncing
partly
on it.
because it's rare enough to be a collector's white whale, and partly because the thing it was trying to say finally has a crowd ready to hear it. It came out the same week as a masterpiece, got buried, and spent 20 years waiting for people to understand it was not being cheap, it was being honest. A horror game that makes you a part of a woman's powerlessness, and then asks how you treated the one creature who tried to shield her, is not a game you walk away from clean.
You want stars? I'll give you stars. My full power.
Before Dark Souls, before the studio was a household name, From Software made exactly one pure survival horror game in 2004, and almost nobody played it. Very few copies were ever printed, and it has since become one of the most
I
expensive
still don't understand
PlayStation
why
2
you don't
games there
like them.
is. A disc most people have only ever watched, never owned.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Kwan.
Because of Super, yeah.
Our last game, and maybe the most disturbing of the whole lot. And it's about a group of spirit masters sent to an old Kyoto manor that has been overrun by demons, where a forbidden ritual to raise the dead has gone horribly wrong. What makes it disturbing is not a monster, it is a process. Instead of a fog-choked American town or a European castle, you're in the Fujiwara Manor in old Kyoto, in Japan's Heian period. All outdoor walkways and rock gardens and candle-lit halls. Real history built with the same deep
Huge
care for a place that
citizen,
FromSoft would later be famous for. The Lord has vanished, the grounds are crawling with demons, and the people sent in are onmyoji, which is real history, masters of yin and yang who handled fortune-telling and the warding off of evil spirits. And two of the most famous in legend, Abe no Seimei and Ashiya Doman, were bitter rivals. So you're playing inside a real piece of old folklore. There are
Yeah, I
three
played
stories.
Sparking Zero.
One following Utsuki.
I didn't like it.
A young woman searching for her sick sister Kureha.
Did not like it.
One following Sakuya, a student arriving with a group of other onmyoji, and a final one where you play the legendary Abe no Seimei herself, and the whole terrible knot ties together. The two main stories overlap and split apart, covering the same ground in a different order, and the timelines never quite line up, which turns out to be the point, because this is a place where death and rebirth have come loose from straight time.
Dang,
What
that's
you
crazy.
fight is a small, quiet bestiary of the dead, demon children, the manor's dead servants in a sick purple glow.
Well, I mean,
crawling
Sparking
fishmen,
Zero
giant
is just
silkworms with human faces,
is an arena
down in the
fighter.
caves near the end.
Xenoverse
but
2
the
was an
enemies are
MMO.
not really the point.
Like,
because
they're
the
two
thing you're
completely
afraid of in
different,
Guan is the system that made them.
different ideas.
The creatures carry
right?
names out of old folklore. The Gaki and the dead servants
I
called
tend to not to
Yamagito,
like
the crawling Mizuhiki, the
arena
giant
fighters
monkeys that stalk
whatsoever.
only Sakuya, and worst of all, the Adamushi, those silkworms
Like,
with
if
human faces.
Xenoverse
And the
2,
untrained
like this
Utsuki
game,
only
if this
ever
didn't
faces two bosses while the
have
student
create a
Sakuya faces
character
four,
and a level
Abe no
system
Seimei
and all
cuts
that
straight
stuff,
through everything.
I
You
wouldn't
fight with a
like
mix
it
of
either.
melee and one-use spell cards, fire and ice, and summon cards that call a wolf or other spirits to your side. And running is punished the whole way through, draining your health, knocking over candles, stands that call up ghosts, and pulling the dead toward you. So the game is forever pushing you to slow down and move like the careful, praying people you control. The rebirth is the horror. A corpse can be brought back, but to do it, the body has to be sealed inside a wicker chest like a cocoon and merged with a living creature, starting with a silkworm. And because a brought-back body starts to rot, it has to be merged again and again, each time with something bigger, 9 times in total. 9 matters, because Kuan can be read as 9 grudges, the same character as in Juon, the grudge, and the further into the cycle a body goes, the harder its piled up grudges are to
There's a
hold.
mod for co-op
And the
RE4
devastating
remake.
part is that finishing the ritual 9 times does not bring back a person at all, because after the 9th
I
merging,
did not know.
the dead are
No.
reborn as mulberry trees.
Never heard
The
of
spell
it.
was never meant for people. It was a spell for silkworms, and someone tried it on the dead, and what it makes is something wearing the shape of life on its way to becoming a tree. Utsuki's sister Kureha has been dead since before the game even begins. fell from a cliff and has been grinding through the cycles ever since, eating the dead to feed a rebirth that was never going to work. And the opening scene of a dark-haired woman cutting down the Lord and folding him into a wicker chest turns out to be the ritual happening in front of you before you knew what you were looking at. The body horror of the merging is patient and awful. The half-fused things, the silk threads strung through halls full of corpses, the silkworms with human faces, and it lands harder than any jump scare because the game makes you understand the logic of it before it ever makes you look. The most personal stretch of the whole game is not a boss, it's a quiet walk through an empty house. Late in Utsuki's story, she comes home to the shrine where she and Kureha and Domon grew up, and finds a trail of blood leading out of a wicker chest. The game's way of telling you, without telling you, that she's come back to exactly where she started.
I'm gonna end stream after this video.
First, a little girl praying to the mulberry tree to help her find the lost pieces of an old board game called Sugoroku, and writing in a child's hand that the mulberry trees are wicked. Then she finds Kureha's diary, whose last entry says that when she woke inside the wicker chest, she realized it was Utsuki who pushed her off the cliff. Something comes over Utsuki as she reads it.
I suppose.
She says she had no choice. She picks up a writing brush, and when the game lets you open the diary one more time, there's a new entry. Except now, Utsuki is
Always
writing
ending
as Kureha.
streams.
Today, I ended Utsuki.
I gotta make me some
Her body will
din-din.
soon merge with mine. You're watching a person dissolve into their own victim in real time. Two sisters collapsing into one body beside one wicked tree. And the game
I'll probably
never once
stream again
raises its
tomorrow
voice.
because I have
She walks to the cliff and throws herself off.
like even though
and nothing
tomorrow
happens.
is my
She waits
Sunday,
at the bottom without a scratch.
unlike
Because
other
whoever she is by
Sundays, I
now
actually have a
is
lot of
long past
time
the
after
point where a
chores.
fall could do anything to her. The
'Cause I don't
villain
have
is
to
what
go to bed
carries it
until
from
3 in the
disturbing
morning.
into something close to despair. You spend the whole game sure that Doman, the rogue on Myoji running all this, is after immortality. And he's not. Because in his own writings he admits he never wanted to live forever. That the entire ritual, the studying, the bodies, his own dead daughter
bodies.
cutting down a manor full of people was a setup to draw out his great rival, Abe no Seimei, so he could finally beat her. Every death in the game was bait. The horror at the bottom of Kuon is not a curse and not a demon. It is one man's pride, and the mountain of bodies he was willing to spend on it. It plays as a slow burn that wants you slow, with free healing as long
That
as nothing
wants
is
you
near,
slow.
a vertigo that blurs the screen and lets a single touch end you, and a save system where you float little candlelit paper boats down the water. A cleansing rite that is exactly the right sad image for a game this haunted. Even the title screen tells you what you're in for, a childish nursery song over backgrounds with slow blinking eyes. The words twisted into horrible meanings, the sweet little tune itself, the bad omen. Kuon did what most of From Software's early games did. Got middling reviews, sold poorly, and very nearly disappeared, which is a real shame, because the mood and the setting, and the sound and the story could all stand with the classics of the genre. It is the deepest cut of them all, a horror game from the studio that would go
Pro
on to
Country?
shape a
Yeah, I've
whole
heard of that.
generation, about a rebirth that brings nothing back. Kept alive now only by the handful of people willing to chase down a disc that costs more than the console it runs on. Please, FromSoft, remaster this one. It deserves to be more than a rumor people pass around.
Yeah, I've heard
so,
of it.
Those are 4 of them. 4 games
I'd like
from
to
the
play
narrow
it,
window of 2004 and 2005.
Like I said, like I just don't.
The
I
last
don't play
full
PC
breath
games.
of a kind of horror that does not really get made anymore. On the surface, they could not be more different. An old alchemist castle, a sealed apartment, an ancient Japanese manor, an American high school. And yet underneath, they're all saying the same thing in 4 different languages. That the worst place you can be is inside a body you do not control. And a place that will not let you leave. Henry, sealed in his own home while it slowly turns against him. A Leafmore kid melting into the dark while a
Damn,
friend
they're
just
being
stands
super
there and
stingy
watches.
with
Fiona, used
with
as a
Dragon
vessel
Balls.
and laughing herself to pieces in a glass box. Kureha,
Fiona.
rotting through 9 rebirths that were never going to work. It always comes back to the same few things. How little power you have, the body you're stuck inside, and the door that will not open. A year or so later, Resident Evil 4 put a gun in your hand and a camera over your shoulder.
A gun in
The
your
genre
hand.
learned how to make you feel powerful, and it stayed that way for a long time. Plenty of great horror came after, and a lot of it owes that game
I guess
everything.
I'll play Tekken.
But this slower, weaker way of doing it, where staying helpless was the whole point, fell out of fashion almost completely.
Got to do those
and these four are where that thread runs out.
incredibly
Every one of them
damaging wall
buried by bad
combos with
timing,
June.
by tiny print runs, by a crowd reaching for the louder thing on the next shelf over. That is why I pull them back up here, because the fog and the silence were not the only language of fear we lost. There was a second one, on a more powerful machine that scared you not with what it could not show, but with a face that was almost right, and a hand on the controller that could not make any of it stop. I'm gonna go sit somewhere with the lights on for a while. Thanks for being down here in the dark with me. Until next time.
Nice. Well, that was cool. That was cool. Or Kunimitsu or Reina. All right. Oh, has my tracking been dead this whole time? What the fuck? You guys gotta let me know. All right, guys. Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate you being here. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow, but if not, it'll be same time next week. Bye.